Well, let's kick this thing off, shall we? All right, hey everybody, welcome. We are doing Legion's Blitz today. It's going to be a pretty low-key tournament, not compared to some of the tournaments we've done in the past, like the Giant Ultimate Arena we did, but still, the competition's going to be great all the same. And hey, guess what? Little surprise for you, I am joined by my guest and fellow streamerman, Entsorger. Say hi, Entsorger.
Hello, everyone. A wild Entsorger appears.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah, Entsorger reached out and said he'd be happy to co-cast, so here he is. Great to have you aboard. It's gonna save my voice a little bit, which I appreciate, of course. But anyways, well, yeah, great to have you. So then, in terms of the tournament today, what we're going to be doing, so it's a single elimination tournament. It's going to be, like I say, pretty low key. We're not doing double elim, we're not doing Swiss, we're not doing any, unique formats, but all the same, like, it's great just to get together and play some rivals anyways. So for our first matchup, we're actually going to be featuring Boltfire and Rawman. We have about 30 players today, so that's going to be really great. And there's going to be some pretty big names here too. I think we got like Serpus, Popes, we've got Victor Bansamer. Haven't seen Victor in a while, so really excited to see that. But yeah, so either way, going to be a really good competition today. What are your thoughts, Entsorger?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some good games from Victor. He left the tournament scene for a long time. Actually, we've been even trying to do an interview with him for a really long time.
Oh yeah.
And so he just left the scene, but now he came back. And I remember back in the day when I first started climbing the ladder and playing Legion tournaments. I remember he was the first guy who knocked me out. And
yeah, so, I can see that happening.
So I know he has a lot of potential. He brings a lot of potential to the game.
Yeah.
And I think to this tournament as well. So that'll be some exciting games. Maybe he's as good as he was back then, and maybe we'll have someone to give Serpus a bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, I like looking at the bracket, right? That's really what it comes down to. I think Serpus appears to be the top name. Like, we got Biao, we got Swess. A Better Way is even making an appearance, which you gotta love that. I haven't seen Better Way in a tournament in such a long time. Samerlot's really good too. Like, I mean, everybody here in the tournament's obviously got some level of skill, but in terms of like who I would foresee as being the one to take down, yeah, I have to agree. It's got to be Serpus. And out of anybody throughout this list, I think Victor probably is most likely. Oh, I can't believe I just saw this name too. Can you believe this? Elijah is also playing. There's an old name that we haven't seen in forever. JMS Northern, Gadarian, even Icy is making an appearance. I mean, man, this is a wild bracket. Absolutely. So yeah, no, I like you say, I think I'm excited to see Victor, some of these other names come out that we haven't seen in tournaments in a really long time. So, yeah, that's going to be really exciting for you guys. Don't know how the gameplay is going to be, but nonetheless, just fun to get some friends together and check out some good rivals.
Well,
so, all right.
I think, though, that we've seen a lot of really high-tier rivals play. We've seen Alicia and Serpus played off, and they often bring these competent decks that we've seen play out a lot. But when you have a bunch of names that are unusual, like we have today, these people usually have the balls to bring an unusual deck, and then you have some unusual gameplay, and that can pan out to be a lot more interesting than always seeing these same decks fought over by the same players.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, as we play this game and as the meta continues to get more stale and more stale, the tournaments are what keep the game interesting. And so, yeah, exactly. Like, having different people come in will change things up considerably. I mean, we'll see how the big matches go, but obviously the rest of them will be also really interesting. And that's one thing about Rivals that I really like, is you don't necessarily have to get the best players together to enjoy the game. You just need to get two people who have interesting ideas and can play the game at a reasonable level. Once you get that happening, the games tend to play out quite well, so... yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm excited to see what kind of creativity players come up with. So, well, we do have our first match up, so we are going to jump into that pretty quickly here. Yeah, any thoughts on this matchup here? Boltfire versus... Oh, I guess it's Encode is the name.
It's Encode, it is, yep. I remember Boltfire from the Wolfpack tourney playing Tank and Chems, so be interested to see... I think it was a she, is that right?
Yes, Boltfire's, yeah, she's Dutch, I think.
If she brings a similar combination, I can imagine that's something along those lines. Encode, I have no idea. I mean, he hangs out in streams, but I don't think I've ever seen him play, so I'll be surprised to see what he brings to the table.
Absolutely, me too. And we're here on Side by Side, which not our favorite map in the game. Obviously, I think it's one of the most hated maps, actually. It's one of the just terrible Diamond League maps. But still, in a tournament setting, you do know the map ahead of time, so it allows you to prepare for it, which does change the way the map feels. So it's not like you're just thrown onto this map without the option of choosing a good deck for it. So yeah, at least on that note, it's going to be okay. But just to quickly cap off, I just want to thank everybody for all the follows. Really appreciate it. I haven't booted up the stream in a little while, so nice to dust off the cobwebs a little bit and, pull it up. But yeah, thank you everybody for being here. There is no delay, by the way, guys. This is just going to be, like I say, a pretty casual stream. But, well, without further ado, Entsorger, let's kick it off.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Up first is going to be featuring Boltfire and Encode, and it's going to be GI versus Nod. You always love to see a grudge match between the two factions.
Yeah,
all right, tell us about the
terrible
decks,
map.
Entsorger.
Terrible map for strong arm here. You only get one of the pads has a halfway decent position for strong arm, but otherwise the APC, Suzaku APC is really nice on this map because you can just put one APC on each pad, and then they more or less sustain themselves. Give it a little bit of backup, and then you can kind of make it work. Having said that, though, Inferno is also a great APC killer, and then he has tanky chems to take care of the missilemen that come out, so it could go either way.
Well, here we go. Good start to this game as we see Encode getting initial positioning with the wheels on the bottom and the top pad. We got Pitbull coming out from Boltfire, though. He's going to chew up those wheels and allow these riflemen to just get a little bit of value against the lasers. But Encode pulling out the chems. A lot of time sold on the clock. We're about 50 seconds into this first missile and not even halfway charged. So plenty of time to get those expensive chem warriors online. And in fact, we are very likely to see an Inferno pop out pretty soon.
Yep. I'm gonna call it now. We're gonna see a ton of drones and Orca. That's what happens with this deck until you get out the APCs. But it might actually not work here with the turret.
This turret placement a little questionable, you see, only getting a bit of value against these chems, not really going to be able to block any units like Entsorger was saying. There's not just a lot of good place to put it, but nonetheless, I mean, here we are, Boltfire is getting the two pads, got the Pitbull on the bottom, the Rifleman to stop the wheels at the top, and looking like she's going to take it. Yep, there it is, first missile goes to Boltfire.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit too much of an overinvestment on the infantry side. Needed some bikes, needed some armor to take care of that. The turret and everything that just went too well for Boltfire here.
And see here, we got the first APC, the win condition from Boltfire, met by Encode's own win condition of the Inferno. And we're about to see a bomb get dropped. There it goes, dealing nearly almost all of the damage, over half. Of course, APC moving out of the fire is good, but you see the fire actually did a fair amount of damage to its hull. So here the Inferno backing off, now having to split down to the bottom of the map. And this is one of the issues here I see, is that having to move the Inferno so slowly while it's reloaded might take some time before it can get there. So Encode popping out the second Inferno makes a lot of sense. Now he's going to be able to contest the bottom of the map with the same firepower. The drone and that single Pitbull not really doing a whole lot. Boltfire needs to try and bundle these Pitbulls up if she's going to get some value against the Infernos. And again, stalling the missile here is just going to play out into Encode's favor.
Yeah, exactly. He needs to stall here. That's what he has to be watching out for.
Oh, it's coming in close here. Missile number 2. Can Encode make a comeback? He's got double Inferno on the top. One's about to reload and take down that Pitbull, but the Pitbull's about to clear it. Only taking down one of them, though. That single one's going to fully reload. It's going to sit there and defend against the oncoming Pitbull, but they will just go 1v1. And I believe that means the pad's going to flip, but the stealth tank moving under the drones, never mind. However, the Inferno is just about there. Gets onto the pad, stalling it just long enough. However, it will last long enough against these two Pitbulls here. So the problem now, Encode looking not so great. Inferno just not able to get there all the way, and Boltfire taking missile number 2 and game number 1.
Yeah, I foresaw that happening right there. I could smell it. I could feel it. Once I saw the Infernos coming out, it's like, okay, now the epic battle of APC Inferno is unraveling, but you have to stall. You have to stall, man.
That's exactly it.
Infernos take a long time to reload. And when those drones were at the bot pad and he wasn't going to stall, I knew it was going to play out like that, because you need time. When you do the Inferno laser combo, you need time to pump it out, and he just did. Yep. You could see it was very close. Like he did astoundingly well, but then they were both low HP, and the Pitbulls could just clean up. But if you'd have just stalled, I think he could have had that.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? The stalling worked out very well, and that's the thing, when you're playing a deck like that, where you're just having to rely on getting to your late game options that in order to win, Inferno's a deck that really relies heavily on that. Plus, he was using chems with the Inferno. Like, he was really heavily loaded up in the bar in the beginning of the game, right? Yeah, expensive, and he still managed to get there. So clearly he stalled a lot, and that's what he needed to do, but the Infernos just didn't get enough value, and I gotta think the map had to play a big role in that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, tough game overall for Encode there, but I mean, it is a best of 3. It is single elimination though, so this could potentially be a knockout here if Boltfire takes game number 2. That may not be the case, though. We'll see. Of course, this could be Encode's victory, right? But we are going to be switching things up quite a bit. We're going to be moving over to Broken Mesa. So side by side, having the two pads split up on top and the bottom. Now we're moving into a map where the pads are a lot more closer together. So actually, if Encode decides to play something like Inferno again on a map like this, I think it would make a heck of a lot of sense. So that is something we could see. All right, let me get the code set up here for you guys.
I want to mention that that turret placement again. I think that is a decisive factor. So as I said before, on that map, the Boltfire who was left was able to place the turret on the right side of the pads, which he could not do on the top pad. The position for the top pad is on the left, so a more defensive position. And the fact that Encode took that fight and brought the bulk of his units to the bot pad to fight where the turret was really gave Boltfire that edge. If he would have just put like a placeholder unit down there and then the fight would have been at the top, I think that could have unraveled differently.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, it was like, and they both played decks where it was really tough to, like, they really want to secure 1 point on the map. Like, that's what the APC deck does. That's kind of what the Inferno deck does. And, you know, one thing I saw was, like, a lot of that getting split up. Like, the APC at the top of the map actually did a pretty good job because the Inferno got there was a lot of distraction going on for Encode. Like, he just couldn't get the Inferno into a good enough position. He kept moving them around, right? Like, he never really secured them in one spot and just took over one part of the map and then trying to, you know, take over the rest. But yeah, so there's just some issues with the audio levels. Let me just try and fix it. So the music was a bit loud, I guess, so I've turned it down a little bit. Let me know if that's better.
No, Space Pope says I'm a little quiet now.
Let me try and turn myself down, because I can't turn you up. I think I might have just not turned myself down enough. So let's try that.
Is that a euphemism for being modest?
Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe it is. Let me just turn down the music just a little bit, and then let me try.
I love word plays.
All right, here we go. How is this?
Learn to shout, chat is telling me.
But does it sound better, guys? Let me know. And any audio issues, just keep me posted, and then we'll fix that. All right. Well, so of course we're gonna move into game number 2 here. Let's load up the game. So we're on Broken Mesa, like we were talking about, and I don't know what kind of decks we're going to see here. Like I said, I think Encode is probably going to bring the same thing. Boltfire though, bringing Strong Arm. I think it's better on Broken Mesa than it is side by side, but not by much, right?
Not by much, no, if at all.
So let's check it out and find out. All right.
Oh, I'm wrong. Go ahead.
Nope, all good. All right, here we go, guys. Game number 2, Boltfire versus Encode. Let's have a look and see what kind of options they brought. Well, all right, pretty interesting.
Encode doing the exact same thing, and Boltfire taking a more competitive Serpus-likey Razorback Predator deck. Kind of like a cookie-cutter GDI deck, which can handle pretty much all of the threats except Giga, because no Borka, no Orca. But since we don't have Giga here, and we do have Hammerhead to take care of the Inferno, I think it could work. It could work. And then, you know, chems really suck against Razorback and being so expensive, so that I think it'll work out for Boltfire. My money is on Boltfire again.
So Encode here switching over into lasers, doing pretty decently in the early war, but actually falling a little bit behind. Boltfire coming up just slightly ahead. But of course, that's not really what's important here. Boltfire's got the better positioning on the pads. Pipple's gonna be able to block the lasers and the bikes. And there it is, a very easy first missile there for Boltfire.
Yep, and now he has the money. Now he can bring out the Razorback. He can just sit back, wait for the units to come to him, and slowly pick away at them. Encode probably saving up for Inferno here eventually. Oh, no, never scratch that, bringing out more bikes. But yeah, now he can just play the classic laser Razorback, which always works very well.
A little bit of a misplay there from Encode as he built the air tower to pull out the Inferno, but didn't have the money to build the Inferno, so a little bit strapped for Cash to respond. As you see, Boltfire maintaining map positioning, but one thing that Boltfire is misplaying here is the fact that she's stalling the missile. This is not great. She wants to be charging this missile and close out the game sooner, because once those Infernos start coming out in big numbers, it's going to be very difficult for Boltfire to deal with them, especially if those stealth tanks take out those hammerheads. So Encode here doing a pretty good job. We're seeing these Chem Warriors come out from the middle. The Razorback getting some good value. Finally going down to that lone Laser. Laser being heralded as the MVP of this game so far for Encode. But this boosted Razorback just absolutely chewing through these Chem Warriors. And the first Inferno now making its way up to the top of the map. That's great. We'll see what Encode decides to do with these. Deciding to pull it back here, and not quite sure what he's going to do. A Hammerhead coming out now from Bullfire is going to be a huge problem. But nice response with the Stealth Tank coming out. Will declare it, but no. The Hammerhead does manage to take out the Inferno just before the Stealth Tank could fire. So a big loss there for Encode.
Yep. And now I think we're going to see it happen. The Chems aren't going to get onto the pad in time, and then it's going to get shut down by the lasers. Oh yeah, here it comes.
All right, can Bullfire close it out and take this series in 2 games? We'll see. It looks like that's the case. All right, well, Bullfire putting her fangs into this game, having all 3 pads covered, using missiles just with Razorback, right? That's pretty much all she needed, and wins the game. Well done.
Yeah, it always sucks to have heavy infantry, and then any kind of T3 infantry for that matter, and then to run into a Razorback, especially if you don't have like a Phantom to accompany it. And while, you know, Chems, they do a better job than a lot of other units like Flamers, because they leave a cloud, but you have to really play to that. You have to drop a cloud and then back off, and a Chuggy does a much better job of that, of course, having Raider. And it just didn't pan out for him. I mean, it can work, especially if you combine it with the aggression of like bikes to follow up, but just on its own, we're seeing a lot of solo action, missiles and Razorback against alone standing Chems. Yeah, it just didn't work out, and then the transition to Inferno just cost too much money.
Yeah, like, I have to think that part of the issue is the fact that he's got such a heavy deck. I mean, I like the fact that the Chems are there, but it's a bit awkward for that first missile, because like, the other version of the deck is where you run Militants and Chem Buggy, right? He has Wheels and Chem Warriors. Like, the Chem Buggy is just better first missile, always, right? And that helps a lot with the Inferno deck, because obviously winning first missile is pretty big. So being better first missile, I think, is just an overall better game plan, but I mean, it's tough. I guess, like, I can see why you might want the Chems, because if you're in a mirror match, for example, and you're playing against a lot of Inferno, then maybe it is better to have the Chems, because then at least you have an out to the flames, or, you know, something like that, right? But, or at least the Chem Buggy won't deal with them as effectively. But still, like, it's just, I don't know. I think, I have to think the Chem Buggy version's just better, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to I wonder why, what was the reason for bringing Chems to that match over a Chem Buggy? I mean, I don't know. The only reason I play Chems is because it fares better against Giga, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Because Giga does the weakest damage that Giga has is against infantry. You know, it'll pop a Chuggy immediately, and then you leave those clouds, and then you can weaken the front in front of Giga. That's the whole idea, at least to me, for playing Chems. And then if you're playing Inferno already, you have an answer to Giga. So I don't know. I think he kind of messed up there by adding that to his deck.
So he's saying Chems do better against Mutant Chuggy, and that's a fair point, actually. I mean, but you would think the Inferno would be your main answer to that. However, it depends on how you play. I mean, if you're still learning to get good with Inferno, maybe it helps to have something like that in those matchups, so it could be something like that. I do think overall, though, you're better off just trying to focus on using the Inferno to clean up those, but hey, yeah, I can certainly understand why you might do that.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, we often forget is it might be their comfort unit, you know? They might only have levels for that, and they've leveled that, and then so they always play that, and then they know how that unit works and responds, and getting used to a new deck right before a tournament is often a lose situation if you're not used to the unit and how they play.
Exactly. Well, on to the next match here. We're going to be featuring Better Way versus JMS Northern. Let me just update the titles here. Yeah, this is going to be a really good match. I haven't seen JMS play in a while. I haven't seen Better Way play in, gosh, I don't even know the last time he played in a tournament. I mean, obviously he plays Rivals, right? There's no question about that. But in terms of his competitive experience, I just haven't seen him play in a tournament in a long time. So this is really exciting. Now, I've played against Better Way quite a bit over the years. He's been around, I think, as long as I have. We've both been playing since probably the beta days. And he's a really talented player. Like, anytime I ever played against him on ladder, he was one of those players where it was always a very sweaty game. And it was, you know what, I would say it was very back and forth between us, but it's been a long time since then, so I have no idea what to expect from him today, but either way, I'm excited. It's going to be good.
I can vaguely remember playing against him in the early days, but you know, back then I played a lot of MG and I didn't make a lot of friends. So I think Better Way was one of the many who felt a little bit annoyed by playing against me all the time.
Oh, maybe,
So
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
I can't remember what he plays anymore, and I haven't played him since. So I'm excited
oh,
to
okay.
see what he brings to the table. I know he watches a lot. He watches a lot. He's in
He
the
does.
streams. He sees a lot of good people play. He hangs out when we have tournaments. So he might have some tricks up his sleeve. He
Yeah.
learns from the best.
Yeah, for sure. Is he gonna show us the better way? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Couldn't resist. That's such an easy, low-hanging fruit. But by the way, people are commenting on your lighting. They're saying that it's like you're living in a dark dungeon.
Yes.
Which is kind of like that.
I like the comment about all the electricity is going to the blinking Blitz neon logo.
That's right. Exactly. Got to keep it open, you know? Right on. Okay, well, we have our players in the match, and so our first map is going to be here on Hidden Gems. Not a map you typically see in a competitive format, but the reality is it changes things up. Like, it's not a map you like to play on ladder because, again, it's just a map that sucks when you don't get to pick the deck. But here, it's a tournament setting, so people are going to know what they're playing on, and that changes things up a lot. I actually kind of like Hidden Gems. I just hate the fact that there's so much aggression at the top. But beyond that, like, I do like the bottom part of the map with the 3 pads and where the missile silo is located. So generally, I kind of like the map. I don't think it's one of the worst maps in the game, but, you know, it'll be pretty interesting either way. All right, well, are you ready, Entsorger? Shall we kick it off?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, game number 1, JMS Northern versus Better Way, and we're going to see Jackson versus Seth Nod. Oh, interesting.
I've, again, no idea what they're bringing, but I'm going to say Inferno. I'm going to say Inferno. It's just so popular on Nod. I'm expecting it. Oh, but it's Shade. Ooh, it's that Nod deck that is not that great versus Pitbull. It could work. I start playing this deck with Kane now, just to have that little extra bit of oomph against Pitbull.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But look at this deck from JMS. I mean, Juggernaut with MLRS. What is going? Like, he's just put a whole bunch of 2-range units into one deck, and then threw a couple
and then Rhinos to fend him off. Rhinos for the early game.
Yeah.
Maybe because he sees the Hidden Gems being this tech happy map. The harvesters are so secure. Maybe that's his thinking. I don't know.
Well, so far, not really a whole lot going on. We see JMS actually doing a pretty decent job against these bikes, although the Rhinos, very odd choice. I mean, the Rhino has decent secondary vehicle damage, which is actually pretty good for chip damage, but, I mean, in this situation, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, Better Way is just going to keep pumping these bikes out. With having Rhinos and just one Pitbull on the field, these bikes are just getting some pretty good value. Now, Better Way, having moving his militants over to the far right, finally starts to charge the missile again. We are just over a minute, so there hasn't been a ton of stall, but of course, in terms of stalling, Better Way definitely wants to be charging here. So JMS tries to push up with this Rhino. He's going to get a Rhino on the top left, but we said Tetrapod coming down. Does manage to get onto the pad in time to fire the missile, and Better Way takes missile number 1.
That could have been close. If the MLRS would have targeted the drill pod, he could have had that missile. But now the fact that he's behind a missile, I mean, everything worked out on that pad. The Rhino took down the lasers, but now he has to defend his pad, and then if Better Way doesn't charge, he's missing out on valuable charge time here, and if he doesn't do that, he'll never get out the Juggernaut, and then I think Better Way is going to stomp him. Shade takes care of most of his stuff anyway until he gets out. He has to bring out snipers to be able to unstealth the Shade. It's going to be a nightmare for him.
Well, his first Shade coming out, getting one volley off and clearing that MLRS is very good for Better Way. He does have to worry about the HP on this Shade, but getting that MLRS out of dodge is just great. That's going to allow Better Way to push up and get some more positioning. So now getting another Rhino as well. The Shade already making its money back, but a Hammerhead coming out here, and just as you said, really in terms of uncloaking it, the only way that JMS is going to catch it is snipers, or if it's already crossed the pad, which was the case there. But having said that, here we go. Can JMS claw his way back in? He's actually looking pretty good here. We've got a Hammerhead with a lot of hit points up on the middle pad, but the Shade with the bikes on the left are going to hold on just long enough. There it is. Better Way, missile number 2, and game number 1.
Yep. Like, even if that was close, but even if JMS Northern would have played that a little better and gotten a missile, he would have still eventually hit that wall, which was the fact that the Shade can pretty much, especially on that map, when there's lots of places to avoid the pads,
right.
And he has to build snipers. He doesn't want to build snipers to defend against Shade. Yeah, the Shade would have taken him apart, I think.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it even EMPs air units, which is insane. It EMPs the hammerhead
Does
while
it
it
actually?
attacks. So, yes,
Wow, that's crazy.
I think it does. EMPs for all vehicles. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right.
If,
I just, you know, I hadn't looked at that before because, yeah, I mean, how often do you look for EMP on an air unit? But
yeah.
yeah, it probably does. I mean, that's
No,
that'd be
I'm pretty
interesting.
sure it does. I'm pretty
Huh.
sure it does. I
That's crazy.
recognize that when I go after ground units with the shade and I have something on my tail. I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah, and then
That'd
so
be
that just
wild.
gives you that
Huh.
extra capability to get in and out.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I mean, right? Like, because he was dealing with the hammerhead for the most part, right? Like, that was the unit that he had to worry about. So, like, being able to EMP a hammerhead would be pretty handy. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter towards the end of a missile, right? Because if the hammerhead just gets EMP'd, it has tons of hit points, so it's going to hold a pad anyways. And, of course, air blocking is not a thing. So, I mean, but still, that's kind of interesting. In the right situation, I could see that making an impact, potentially. But, all right, well, we have our next match set up already, and it is going to be here on Stonewall. So, a little bit different than what we just saw, Hidden Gems with the 3 pads on the bottom of the map, and now Stonewall with them pretty much just surrounded to around the middle of the map. Does create that very open area, right? So, in terms of the decks that we saw, Better Way bringing Shade here wouldn't be a surprise. JMS might just decide to play the same thing. I mean, Juggernaut's actually decent on Stonewall because of its 3 range. MLRS not so good, though, because it's hard to put it in a position where you can actually cover a lot of the map. So I don't know if he decides to replace the MLRS with something that just might improve his deck's winning matchup on this map, but not too sure. But, well, either way, are you ready for me, Entsorger?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right, game number 2. Here we go. JMS Northern versus Better Way, and a bit of a switch up here as both players have changed factions.
All right. Let's see what those decks are. I guess the Solomon is a precautionary response to any kind of tech or Giga. Oh, yep, and there it is, the Giga. So we're seeing a, what is it, Suzaku APC, but with Rhino instead of APC. Okay. Players really like Rhino today. First it was Northern, now it's Better Way. Rhino MVP of the tournament, it seems. Serpus going to be playing it later too, we'll see.
This is actually the Serpus Rhino deck, so he plays this deck quite a bit because he likes to play Rhino with Orca, which I don't personally understand, but hey, maybe we'll see something here. Okay, so far it's looking pretty good here. JMS actually getting initial advantage with the positioning on his militants. He's getting a little bit more value against Better Way's riflemen. Better Way a little bit out of position, and now we're coming towards the first missile, so he's going to have to push onto the pads here. He's got the militants set up on the far left. He's pushing up his riflemen onto the far right. He's going to stall the missile just a little bit longer, but the militants will win, so he's going to stall it for just a little bit of time, but it doesn't matter. The riflemen went down very quickly, and there was JMS taking missile number 1.
Yep. JMS, like, it's always great to win first missile, of course, but JMS generally playing this deck with expensive Phantom and Giga, you want to stall because your winning or your ideal unit composition is Giga and Phantom, and to get those 2 out, you need money. And once you do that, you're pretty much unstoppable. So you do want to stall a little bit, whereas Better Way, if he gets more units out, he builds a second Orca, a second Pitbull. He doesn't get any stronger, but Northern does.
And here we go, the first Giga coming out, getting the boost as well, getting enough of a charge to clear up 2 Pitbulls there, getting actually quite good value there for JMS, and on top of that, he's also regained map positioning, and that's huge. Of course, on this map, it is a little bit tougher to put the Giga in a position where it's going to be able to cover a lot of the dangerous areas to stop Better Way from getting a lot of value, but here we go. Look at this push-up. Better Way saving up for that Orca, costing him a lot of money. Might not be the tool that he needs. It's going to clear up the Orca, but the lasers are there to stop it, and with JMS looking pretty comfortable here, just needs to cover that top pad, but hold on a minute. Better Way making a comeback here. We've got the drones on the far right, but they're going to go down. Orca coming over to the far left, going to clear up only enough of the bikes, but wait a minute. Looks like it's going to flip over. Can the Rhino beat the lasers just long enough? But it looks pretty good. Hold on a second. Oh, man, you love this back and forth action. The bikes move off the pad. The Orca is going to go down as well. And here we go. The bike's going to come up from behind. All he needs to do is get the bikes up onto that top pad. No block on the Rhino. And, oh, wait a minute. He's now moving the bikes over. Smart plays. He's going to cover all 3 pads now. Should only be a matter of time, but gotta say, you love the micro here, backing off from the Orca, but, oh man, I don't know who's gonna win this, honestly. But it's looking pretty good. I think Better Way now with all 3 pads. He's gonna try and take it, but no, it's still going back and forth. JMS finally takes it with all 3 bikes and lasers, and making it all the way through. What a sweaty game. Man, it was hard to say who was gonna win that. Orcas and bikes, lasers and drones. Just insane.
that was going in both directions. That is
Ugh.
surprisingly exciting. Yeah, Giga not actually doing that much, but I think the Rhino was a little bit of a handicap at the end of the day, right?
It had to have
He
been,
put a
yeah.
lot of money. He put a lot of money into it, and at the end, the final units, he wasn't really using them anymore. You know, he was going back to the drones and Orca as GDI tends to do in that case. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was just like it was kind of like the rhinos really weren't doing a lot. It was just providing more fodder for the orcas, right? Because
Yeah,
it
exactly.
looked like Better Way was trying to save up for an ion cannon at some point. Like you just saw he was doing nothing for a while, and then he spits out an orca. So I'm not too sure what he was thinking there. Maybe he just wasn't sure what the right call was. But yeah, either way, I have to say the Rhinos were such a big holdback. I'm surprised to see this deck, honestly. I think Rhino just makes it so much worse. I don't know what you replace it with. I mean, APC would be better, maybe without the Solomon.
Yeah,
But if you're going to run
probably.
Solomon, you have to run pretty cheap units overall. Like, really, Better Way spent so much money on Orcas, there was just no way he was getting to an Ion Cannon, right?
Yep, exactly. It probably would have been better off just building riflemen.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
No, even if they die, I think a lot of people don't give riflemen enough credit, especially in the late game. Yeah, so what? So what if they die? So what if you don't get a 2v1 off? They still have utility. You know, you weaken squads. It's chip damage. If they ignore it, it's a lot more than chip damage. I think there's still a lot of utility to riflemen at the right time in the right situations, also in the late game.
I think it's interesting because riflemen are such a low-cost unit that as the game draws on, you feel that their cost and their pop cap, the fact that they take a pop cap just makes them so much worse. But there are situations where you do want them. I mean, they are a 5-man squad, so they can survive against things like bikes. They can survive against all kinds of things. I mean, obviously not infantry, but, you know, they can hold pads against certain units. And they can be a
And
really good choice towards the end of the game.
And they have that 3 tile vision, don't forget. That's also useful. That gives you a lot more reaction time.
Exactly. Yep. We had the wrong person join the game here, so just a sec. I think there's some confusion going on.
Oh yeah, we had Elijah.
Yeah, I think he's eager. He's obviously very eager to play. I love that. Of course, wants you to be prepared, but yeah, not the right one. That's okay though. No worries.
He must be super old school because I'm not familiar with the name. Kenny already made fun of me for that
Well,
because I joined a little bit later than the most long time Rivals players.
yeah, Elijah's been around a long time, so he's part of the Terminus Shores group. He's been there since I joined the Terminus Shores Alliance, which was uh, when was that? November 2018 or December 2018? Really long time ago. And yeah, he was there for a long time. Now, the best story I have about Elijah is a game where he played against Midnight Nation. Now, you probably remember Midnight Nation, right?
Yes.
Yes, so Midnight Nation loved to troll people. I'm sure many people are familiar with this story, but essentially what happened was Midnight Nation decided to do this best of one game against Elijah. Now, I don't remember what the stakes were. I believe what it was is that Midnight Nation had to change the Global Nation Alliance name to something of his choice, and then vice versa for Terminus Shores. But the funny thing was, Elijah beat him in the game one, and he was properly rusty, like hadn't played in a long time. He's a good player, but like just hadn't played in a long time. And Midnight Nation was chomping at the bit, right? And yeah, Elijah takes the game off of him and then walks away. That was the best part. Midnight Nation was so upset about it. Oh man, such good times. Anyways, yeah, that's like the best thing I've seen from Elijah is doing that. It was just so great. But speaking of great things here, we are ready with our next game. We got Better Way and JMS again here on our final game of this series. Again, it is a single elimination, so whoever loses this is out. And we're switching over to Caged In. So what do you make of this map, Entsorger?
Is it just me, or does this look like Hidden Gems, the game we played earlier, but just flipped?
Yeah, with the rocks, I guess it's a little bit different because of the choke points.
Yeah,
But yeah,
except for the
yeah,
rock,
I see what you're
it's
saying. The
very
positioning, yeah.
similar. Yeah, you have the same map constellation and then the Tiberium on the other side.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of.
but it plays differently because of it's the proximity between the pads is it's a little denser.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
All right.
Giga and Borka all very strong here.
Yeah, Borka would be good. Like the pads are close enough, it could work for sure.
Yep.
Okay, well, here we go. Final game, guys. Let's check it out. Okay, game number 3, Better Way versus JMS, and another faction change. Well, actually, no, not a faction change. Better Way did play GDI last game, but it looks like they might be going back to perhaps the decks we saw at the beginning, although, no, not the same commanders. So let's have a look.
Yeah, it looks very different from the commander standpoint. Okay, so we have Giga once again, same deck. That's the same thing, except Better Way decided he didn't have money for Iron Cannon the first time, so he's gonna go with a cheaper route this time. I see. But he is sticking with Rhino, so maybe he'll commit to it a little bit more if he's not saving up for an Iron Cannon. We'll see.
So JMS getting the early map positioning here with his own militants, looking pretty good for him, and that's actually kind of important, right? Like, you have this choice of going Harvester first or going Unit first, and going Unit first gets you this early map positioning, and for some decks, that can be really impactful, especially for a deck like Giga, where you want to get the Giga into a good spot. But having said that, it's not about positioning, it's all about the missile. So here we go. We got the missile stalled on that middle pad. Drone's going to move over to the far right and clear up those militants. We got attack bikes coming in from behind. Nice turret placement as well. Looking good here for Better Way. There it is. All 3 pads. Drone Swarm coming in hot.
Yup, that's a classic Paflagon move. So you just can't kill them in time. He waited with that engaging with the riflemen, and then at the appropriate time when Northern couldn't make enough bikes to counter the air, he came in and swooped up the pads. That's unfortunately a side effect of the pop cap system.
A very smart play there from Better Way. Yeah, just putting the drones on there at the last moment. Very good. And yeah, look at this. He's pulling out the Rhino again. I'm really surprised to see it. I just don't know what he would need here for, but it is a good option as he's got facing double militants and lasers coming on. The Rhino will win 1v1 against lasers, not necessarily through attrition, but generally speaking, it will win. So it's a pretty decent choice here. But JMS is just going to get a Giga now, and there it is. Giga coming out, and it's going to absolutely demolish all of this stuff on the field.
Yep. Everything here is gonna now just melt. Like, maybe the Orca gets it in time, but I think I'm gonna see the lasers coming in.
Ooh, so the Orca coming in. Is it going to get the volley off? It's going to move on to the bottom tile, and it actually will unload and get it. But it doesn't matter because here comes the missile. Got drones coming in again. Better Way using them to great effect, but JMS blocking them with the lasers. Very nice play. We got the bikes coming in, covering all 3 hexes on that bottom pad, and there it is. JMS coming back with missile number 2. Very well played.
Yeah, the unit choice was a little bit questionable. To double down on Rhino when there were just a couple riflemen, barely any lasers, you know, and he already has strong arm. I don't understand the Rhinos. Go for heavy armor, get map control with the heavy armor, and then, you know, you only want to be building anti-infantry if the enemy has a bunch of lasers, and that just wasn't the case yet. And now he's going to need Orcas to go for those Gigas.
So JMS gets another Giga out, but very unfortunate as he pushed it up way too far, pushing it against a turret, missiles, and a pitbull, and that was just enough to take down that disgusting unit. As disgusting as it is, it still managed to go down in that situation, so very unfortunate for JMS. As he does have enough money to build another one, but he's lost a bit of positioning here. This Chem Buggy trying to get back control here for JMS as he's trying to clear up the lasers, but nonetheless, Better Way looking pretty good. He's got that Orca on the left, he's got the double drone swarm on the middle pad. They're going to hold against that Giga. The boosted lasers, though, are going to clear up the oncoming drone swarm, but it doesn't matter. JMS is going to get onto that far right pad with the Orca, but hold on a minute, is he actually going to get there? We lost the middle pad. Oh, nice flip around, and there it is.
Wow.
Better Way coming back, really using those drone swarms, and winning the game. Wow. What a game. What a game.
Indeed. I didn't expect that flip. I thought Northern had it there with the Giga in the position. All he had to do was fortify. I mean, he didn't get a Phantom out. That would have definitely helped him. And he made a mistake by mis-microwing those lasers for the first Giga. But, you know, usually it's just a situation of planting something in front of the Giga and winning. But the fact that Better Way swapped around there and just had that pad control for enough of the time, for long enough, Northern didn't respond fast enough. He would have to shuffle as well, and he wasn't shuffling and just kind of let it happen to him.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, too, like, that second Giga was such a feels bad, right? Because he popped it out, and then you could tell he must have misclicked on the location he was sending it to, because the turret was already in position when he did that, right? So he saw the turret, and he saw the pitbull and the missiles up front. So I have to imagine it was just a moment where he just got flustered. Maybe he just slightly clicked, just a little bit to the left instead of to the right. and yeah, ended up losing that Giga, losing more positioning, right? Because that's the thing on a map like that, caged in, where you got those 3 pads so close together, and you have choke points towards the bases. Like, that's huge because the response is harder to make happen because the rocks are in the way. So getting a Giga into position on that map is huge because you put it on that middle pad and then it covers so much ground, but JMS just could never get there, right? So
precisely. Yep, and there were a lot of opportunities for a lot of little tiny misplays. Like, I think, for example, the turret was a little bit too early. There's a lot of options for Northern to come back there. But yeah, you know, maybe it's, as you say, maybe he got a little bit flustered and then he just wasn't following up, just wasn't matching the units quite as fast as he should be. And it is annoying because you do have to be on your feet, on your tippy toes when you have drones and Orca coming in one after the other.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I gotta say, like, Betterweight played that really well. I mean, I was saying before, I hadn't seen him play in a while, and haven't seen him in a tournament in a while. Well, boy, he's brought his game today for sure. He's definitely one to watch out for. So, but speaking of that, let's move on to the next one. So we're gonna be playing Elijah versus Huckinator. So here we go. Elijah coming in. Obviously, he was very ready for last game, so here he is. But this is gonna be really interesting. Like I said, I haven't seen Elijah play in a long time, and when he did play regularly, he was really good. Like, he's a quite talented player. So I guess we'll just see if he can dust off the rust and if he'll actually make a case for himself today. I guess we'll find out. All right, well, shall we kick it off, Entsorger?
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Game number 1, Elijah versus Huckinator. All right, 2 interesting names here, and we're on side by side again. Side by side, maybe not our favorite map, but let's see what choices they brought.
I hate this map. But you know, it's half as bad if someone else has to play it.
Right?
Rivals is a great spectator game, so it's always easy to watch them suffer. So we have Giga Phantom, and it's that same situation where Elijah actually wants to stall to get out that combination, whereas Huckinator just kind of needs a couple early Infernos, and then he can probably win it with that. You know, if he gets the upper hand and doesn't get shut down, or maybe it'll turn into a Phantom, an air war. You never know how these players, what they decide to do, and how it'll unravel. Could go either way.
So Huckinator building these bikes, switching over to his War Factory, opting not to build a chem buggy to deal with the infantry is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what his plan was there, though. Maybe he was going after the Harvester, trying to get a little extra cash money. And you know what? Playing the Inferno, I could see that play happening, so not a surprise there. But the one thing to pay attention to here is the fact that we're stalled. We're only a minute into this game now, and we're not even a quarter way on that missile charger. So lots of stall time and plenty of time for both players to get their win conditions online.
Maybe Huckinator thinks, oh, I'm going to be going double Harvester in a bit anyway. I'm fine with stalling. I want you to be the first one to commit, the first one to bring out the Giga. And there we go, and now it's happening. Now I think it's going to get real.
All right, Giga coming out, getting the boost as well, and in that position, it can only cover just up the top there. It won't actually reach most of the pads, so a little bit awkward for the Giga, but he does manage to inch it forward. However, just like Entsorger pointed out, here comes that Inferno, and it's actually going to get it as well, almost getting his own chem buggy. A little bit of a misfire, but he did manage to move the chem buggy out of the way, so very good play there from Huckinator.
Yeah, now he needs cheap units to combine with the Inferno. He has no map presence. The bikes aren't going to get on there in time. He can't decide what to do.
Ooh, unfortunately, he bombs the top rifleman, but the bikes are just easily able to get back onto the pad. So Elijah coming in, winning that first missile. You'll love to see it.
Yep. And no second Harvester. I think he feels certain that, you know, he can manage with one Inferno. He doesn't need more. He's going to even go for the Harvester, getting a little cocky here. And now Elijah's probably saving up for a Phantom. This has to be his next move. And there it is.
Well, Elijah's showing that he's definitely not out of practice, as yeah, Phantom is the right call here. That said, Huckinator bringing his own Phantom to the table, and Elijah's Phantom being low in hit points means he could lose it, but getting rid of that Inferno is pretty big. We see Huckinator is only on a single Harvester, so his money isn't really that big. Like, his economy is not quite online yet, so this could be big for Elijah.
Yeah, when you see you're playing into a Phantom mirror like that, you need one supporting hit from a bike squad, and then you win it, and that was enough.
Okay, can Elijah closes out in 2 missiles to 0? It doesn't look like it. Huckinator looking pretty good here, as that lone bike at the top pad just manages to hang on for dear life, and there it is. Huckinator coming back with missile number 2.
Yeah, he could have stalled that. You know, he had the Phantom ready on the top pad, but you know, it would have only delayed, and then he would have lost it. So that was the right choice. And now, oh, now he loses the Phantom. Oh, that really hurts.
That's
Yeah,
huge. Oh.
you have to stay alive when you're having an air battle like this.
Oh man, Elijah almost nearly getting a volley off from that Phantom, trying to micro it over top of the bikes. Good positioning there from Huckinator to put those bikes in front of the Inferno. As that Phantom, it could have potentially unloaded the entire volley without dying as it was boosted, so was a chance there for that Inferno to go down, but Huckinator managed to hang on there.
What Huckinator needs to do now is make lasers. There's no Chuggy, and if there's no Chuggy, you want to be combining lasers and not bikes, because that's where you win the bike war, and then you have the Inferno doing the support. But I think he just kind of got lost in this mirror the way it's unraveling.
So right now, it's looking pretty decent here for Huckinator. Like you said, he needs to get those lasers to support the Infernos. Those Infernos, those big boys, they gotta have escorts, and lasers are the best one you can make. So it's looking pretty good. He's getting some pretty decent value, now securing most of the bottom map, and even securing that top pad. And as we're inching towards the third missile here, Huckinator having this map position is absolutely critical. And now Elijah, without any money, he lost his Harvester, has been out of Harvester Harvester money for so long, that just gives Huckinator this third missile, and the game.
That was a little brutal towards the end there. I don't know if Elijah forgot to rebuild the Harvester, or was he thinking, because, you know, that's a play that I sometimes do. When the missile is about to fire, and you think, oh, I'm going to sacrifice the Harvester to get that extra pop cap. And if you do that, you have to win the missile. But, you know, he evidently did not. So I don't know what his thinking was. But, I mean, he had the disadvantage there on that map, playing Giga. Giga just sucks on that map, right?
It does. Yeah, it's a terrible map for Giga. Like, it's one of the worst, actually, I have to think. Because, like, you just can't put it in a spot. Like, the Giga wants to stay in one spot and then get its charge going. It's not like MLRS, where MLRS can actually be a little bit mobile, because once it's fully loaded and then it sets up, it unloads, right? So the MLRS on a map like that is actually not terrible. But again, it's just the fact that the Giga just really can't be in one place on that map and cover enough ground and also charge up at the same time. So, yeah, I have to agree. I think the Inferno was just an excellent counter. But, I mean, gosh, you got to give a ton of credit to Elijah for actually making, an interesting game out of that, right? Because he was really well hard countered. He was on a map where his deck actually isn't that great.
Oh, yeah.
He had other choices in his deck. Like, the Giga was really the one unit that isn't great. The rest of what he had was okay. But the Inferno, the Inferno is just such a big deal, right? But the fact that he took it to 3 missiles and made a really entertaining game out of it, I gotta say, I'm really impressed by Elijah's gameplay. That was good. That was really good stuff.
Absolutely. All things considered, and I mean, I think the amount of practice that he gets in, or at least recently, can be seen by the color of his rank badge. And so, all things considered, he played fairly well. You know, maybe he didn't realize that one of the outs for Giga on that map actually is going for the base. Going for the base before, before the Infernos come out. That does work on that map, because the player who's fighting against the Giga tries to not deal with it until they have a proper answer. And then if you just go for the base and it's charged up and you have boost, then that can very often win the game that way.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. You know what? Because the pads are somewhat close to the base, so if you do get a Giga, like if you secure that bottom part of the map, and then you give yourself an opening to go towards the base, yeah, I could see that being a win condition. Obviously, I mean, it's kind of sad though, right? Because that's basically saying don't play the pads in order to win that matchup. But hey, fair enough. If that's the situation you're in, maybe that's just the best thing to do. All right, well, shall we get game number 2 underway?
Quick shout out to Pontiki, who has recently joined the Legion team and is the admin in the background helping with this tournament. And he actually went ahead and picked these weird maps for this tournament. So it's not it's not by chance that we're seeing so much side by side. They're all intentional.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Pontiki has decided to help us out today. So yeah, big shout out to him, because one of the things that we need in order to continue to do these tournaments is we need more people to get interested in and potentially helping out with tournaments. We've got a great team of people who want to run them, but of course, there is a lot of work involved. So it was really great to see Pontiki come aboard and offer to help us out. So yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. Okay, well, I think we're ready to go, and we're going to be here on Caged In again. So we're going to see a very similar match to perhaps the one we saw in the last series. But well, let's kick it off.
Okay.
All right, here we
So
go. Match number 2, Elijah versus Huckinator. And here on Caged In, so I don't know if they decide to change things up. I think Giga would be a good choice, and well, yep, that's what Elijah decided to bring.
Yep, he's not changing anything up. But unfortunately, snipers will probably win a little bit for the early game. But everything that he has here, Huckinator, that he's going to bring to this match is going to just die to the Giga, except for that huge laser beam from space. So maybe if he saves up and he makes good trades, maybe he'll have money for the ion cannons. But still, that's an expensive trade, killing a Giga with an ion cannon. You know, he has to do good trades pretty much.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the snipers could be good early game. It just might be the chem buggies where he'll fall apart. But so far, looking pretty good here for Huckinator. He's getting early positioning with the snipers. He's getting them onto the middle part of the map, which is pretty much where you want them to be. Any 2-range unit is exactly where you want to place them. But Elijah now pulling out the chem buggy, still knowing pretty much how to play the game. And unfortunately there for Huckinator is he moved his snipers in front of it. Must have been a misplay there, as he was probably trying to micro the missiles in front of it, but just ended up microing the snipers there. So only losing one model, though, isn't the worst in the world, but it's not going to help him out here as we come towards his first missile. So again, Huckinator here looking pretty good. We've got the snipers on that middle pad. Pipple coming up from the far right. He's going to block the bikes and the chem buggy from getting on there, and there it is. Missile number 1, Huckinator.
Actually, I'm not so sure if that was a misclick. I think he didn't want to give up the pad. I think he was actually, doing the big Chad move, which is blocking a chem buggy with snipers until the pit bulls could come back to reinforce, and it worked for him.
That could be. I'd never think of doing that myself, but hey, you never know. Sometimes, unique situations call for unique solutions. So, yeah, potentially. But, wow, so Elijah now getting the Giga online, and this is one thing that Elijah has to be careful of. It is low hit points, so one more shot from the Pitbull and it goes down, and that's very unfortunate because Elijah now is pretty much pushed up against his base, and with the missile coming up to missile number 2, we're almost all the way there, and Huckinator has great positioning. I just don't see how Elijah gets back into this. He's got his chem buggy on that bottom pad, but Huckinator all 3 there. He's got the Pitbull on the far left and the snipers on the far right, so there it is. Huckinator crushing this game.
Yeah. Elijah and the iron cannon as like a taunt towards the end. For good measure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, it's kind of too bad. You'd like to see Elijah win one of these series and perhaps continue throughout the tournament, but I gotta say, it was really exciting to see him all the same.
I think when that Giga came out, it's kind of like with the Chuggy. You have to be careful on how you position your units, and he didn't have the support for the Giga. He put the Giga into its ideal position without any support. All he had was a Chuggy on the field, and so the Orca had free reign to swoop in and smack it. You can't move up like that until you have the supporting unit, unless there's something pressing going on, like a missile about to fire, which was not the case. And so I think that misplay and then losing that positioning, he just never recovered from that.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, I think that's one of the biggest misplays we've seen so far in this tournament is people just pushing up these expensive units where they actually really need to make sure that they're being escorted by something. So, like Inferno, for example, you want to put lasers in front of it, not behind. Like, it's really, like, of course, in some situations, you want to get the Inferno out as soon as you can and get it to a pad, like, especially early game, because if there is an opening for that to happen and you get the Inferno in a defensive position, then, yeah, you can probably follow it up with lasers, but that only really works when there's hardly anything going on. As the game draws on, then you're going to have to rely on making sure there is something to pair up with it, because, yeah, look at what we're seeing here. Like, Elijah popped out that Giga, and it was too close to the base, and, I mean, Huckinator already had a bunch of units right there, because he already had that positioning, so... that's another thing, is you have to have positioning before you can start to get some of these units out. Like, when you play Giga, you want to have that initial map positioning to be able to do it, so... Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, but, I mean, it is a very strong unit, but hey, it can cost you the game at times.
While we wait for the players, I'm just going to take care of my little feline monster.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. She, or he, not she. Augie needs some sustenance. Absolutely. All right, I'll get the game up. And there we go. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying the tournament so far. For me, it's been a little while, so I'm a little rusty on the stream management, so I do apologize. I missed a scene there when I didn't move the game scene, so I apologize for that. Thank you for letting me know. But either way, I hope you guys are enjoying it. It's always a lot of fun to run these tournaments and just to get a chance to see some good Rivals gameplay, because this is where the best games happen, right?
So it happened exactly like I expected. Pre-feeding the cat was useless, for the cat did not realize the food is in the dish, so he just preemptively meowed in front of me. And now I just brought the dish in, and now he's happy.
Right on, right on. So who do we got in chat here today? So let's see, we got a huge crowd actually. We got, see, Lewis Cypher, of course, all the players, Dickamomo, Leoncha, Kenny's here helping out as usual, Victor Bansimer, love to see him. Victor, we haven't seen you stream in a while, my man. I hope you're going to boot up your stream and play some Rivals for us at some point. We'd love to do that. Seeing Icy, Better Way. Yeah, a lot of great people here today. It's wonderful.
They're doing the exclamation mark meow command that you told me to make, not realizing
I've been hearing the meowing too. It's great. I love it. Little piece of reality for you. It's good stuff. Yeah, so we're just waiting for the players. Our next game, actually, let me just update the scores while we're doing that. So it's going to be Soul Taker Joel versus, now I think it's A Productions. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Let's see. There we go. Yeah.
Soul Taker Joel, yeah, that sounds about right.
So Soul Taker Joel, now I'm not sure if you're familiar with him Entsorger, but he's done pretty well for himself. Like, he's playing in more tournaments, he's playing in RTL, he's really attempting to make a name for himself, and he's also, you can see his name on ladder all the time, so clearly he's playing a lot of Rivals, and love to see him here today. I mean, tournaments, like I say, are the best place to get experience in terms of learning how to get better at this game, because this is truly where the rubber meets the road. Rubber meets the road. There we go. Got there. So, you know what? I love to see it. And Soul Taker Joel has been slowly getting better. Like, I've seen some of his recent games, and he's actually been making some good improvements. Now, A Productions, I'm actually not too familiar with him, but do you have any thoughts on this matchup Entsorger?
Well, A Productions, you know, I always have to remember the names, their actual names, because so many people have different names on Discord and in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, A Productions is Mod Productions, is that right?
Yeah, that's what somebody was just saying in chat, so yeah, I think that's right.
Right. Okay, in which case, I've seen him stream. He streams, right?
Oh, yeah, I guess he does.
Yep.
Yeah, then that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I expect a lot from him then. if you start streaming and you watch a lot of streams, that means, you know, chances are you know the meta, you play the meta most likely, and yeah, so a lot will be coming from him. From Joel, not sure what the in-game name is, because, you know, again, I know most of the in-game names, but I really don't know many of the Discord names. Okay, no, but it is the same name, so
it is.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
don't know them.
We do have our players in, so let's actually switch over to the game scene now, and I think we're ready. So why don't we kick off game number 1?
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right, Mod Productions versus Soul Taker Joel. And yeah, you gotta love to see it. We're seeing Kane here for the first time on the broadcast. That's fantastic. And we're here on Broken Mesa.
New objective.
Yeah, Kane is kind of so-so on this map, right? Depends where the fight happens.
Yes.
You can just bait the Kane. Of course, it's a high tier play, but if you bait the Kane and then just move down, Kane is useless. I've seen it happen, and it's very sad because you want to see Kane reach his maximum potential of glory. But having said that, I think, you know, maybe if it takes down a couple Predators, which is what he's going to need, because he has Banshee. The only thing to back up the Scorpion is Banshee, and, you know, that sucks. So it's got to be some Kane action that wins him the game here, if at all.
So Mod Productions got early map positioning going unit first. He decided to pop out his rifleman before his harvesters, so he got early onto the pads, but isn't really taking advantage of it. He is now charging the missile, and I gotta say, I think between the two of these, he probably does want to charge a little bit more than Soul Taker Joel, only because that Kane Tower is going to be very effective against the Predator tank, as you pointed out. So I have to think that in terms of economy, Mod Productions likely wants to close this out soon, but, you know, probably not going to be a huge determining factor. That said, though, Soul Taker Joel here popping out a tank. He's getting bikes to follow up, and Mod Production's not really responding very well. He's got Pitbull and Rifleman, but that's about it. Expect to see a tank coming in. There it is. Now Predator tank, but it's a little bit too slow, and the problem is, now that the missile's coming down to it, Soul Taker Joel's on all 3 pads, and he's got the tank on the bottom, so even if you lose the middle pad, it doesn't matter. He's going to take missile number 1.
Launched.
You can already see
Major
fairly
structural
good micro
damage
from Mod
resumed.
Productions. But the fact that Buggy is actually good for Nod here just means he can easily transition to
Unit
effective
enhanced.
anti-infantry into bikes, into tank. And it's just this seamless ramp up that the GDI doesn't have. He's stronger now that he has the Predator out, and now you can see Joel, you know, on his back foot. But the time he needs to get there, because Razorback is expensive and Rhino sucks, just gives Joel here a little bit of an advantage for the early game.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, taking that first missile is huge as Mod Productions here, I mean, like I said, you know, the economy isn't going to make a big deal, but the fact for Soul Taker Joel to be able to pop out a tower at the right moment to clear a tank, just as the missile is going off, could be absolutely big. And like you say, these buggies actually doing a pretty good job. And speaking of the Kane Tower, there it is, the obelisk coming down, and it is actually targeting the Harvester. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but look at how much little damage it did. It really did nothing. But here we go, Banshee's now coming out, responding to this Predator tank, as the buggy's really not going to be very effective with the tank out, and this tower misfiring on the rifleman is going to hit the tank now. Oh no, unfortunate, as Soul Taker Joel lost a ton of value out of that tower, not even getting any value against the Harvester. So this is actually starting to look pretty good for Mod Productions. These misplays from Soul Taker Joel costing him here, and now Mod Productions might claw his way back in. Got that Hammerhead clearing up the Banshee on the top pad. Now it's going to move down towards the bottom pad. Just needs to move up on this middle pad, and there it is. And just like missile number one, flipped over for Mod Productions, he takes it.
Launched.
Oh man, Joel completely threw that. The Kane Tower zapping the Harvester and then the Rifleman. He could
Oh,
have
it was
had
sad.
that easily. Yeah.
Yep,
But I
agree.
mean, yeah. But now we might actually see a very exciting missile because now the playing field has been leveled out a little bit. Mod Productions composition that he wants to go for here is Predator and Razorback, and then he has the Hammerhead to take care of any Banshees, so he can't be surprised by that anymore. If he just gets out enough Predators and enough Razorbacks, he'll take care of everything that Joel can throw at him.
So Mod pulls out this tank, pulling it up to the middle pad, and now Soul Taker Joel responding with the tower. It's hard to say if this tower is going to last towards the end of the missile, but either way, it's in a pretty good spot. Covering up that middle pad is going to be very big, as Mod Productions really needs to try to get there with the tank. But having said they may not need to, he backs off that rifleman. That single rifleman just might be it, and there it is. Wow, unbelievable how
Oh
little
my
it
God.
took. Insane.
Yep.
And now Mod Productions wins the game. Wow, that was
Yep.
an absolutely crazy game. What a
Yep.
game. That was great.
I can tell you what, Jeffrey, that soldier is getting promoted tonight.
Yep, he's getting his promotion, absolutely. Like, and you know what? Like, it was a really good play there from Mod Productions because he saw that the tower was potentially going to clear it, so he
Yes.
actually moved it
Yes.
off towards the back
Yes.
hex on the pad. So you could tell he knew what was about to happen. But Mod Productions was like, nope, not today, Bucko, and he took
Yep.
that missile, man. That was a heck of a finish to that game. That was good stuff.
At first I was thinking, oh wow, he has a lot of micro. He's pretty good at this. Then later in the game, when I saw the Razorback attacking the wrong units and the missiles attacking the wrong units, I
Right.
wasn't sure about that decision. But the fact is, at the end of the day, at the end of the match, he microed the right units. And
Yes.
and that is what pulled it off. We saw that Kane Tower charging up to finish off the Rifleman, and I dare say, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you can't obviously, but Joel will be able to. I think that Kane Tower was on auto fire like the first one. Otherwise, your first target probably wouldn't be a Rifleman. And so, you know, that kind of the miss micro of the Kane Tower almost worked out for him the second time around. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting switcheroo right there. That could have been the deciding factor. Now the non-micro of the Kane.
I mean, that's how the game led. It led to that point, right? And that had a lot to do with the misplays that were played throughout the game. And I have to agree. I think that's a good point. Is I think he really was just popping the tower down and not retargeting it, because you look at the first one, that's pretty much how it went. It targeted the Harvester, and I've never seen the tower hit a Harvester before, but man, it was sad. It did like nothing.
Yeah. They had to nerf it, unfortunately, because
Yeah.
it's a tough thing for a lot of new players that don't realize that. I think that was the reasoning behind nerfing harvester damage, don't you?
Oh, probably. Yeah, it could be there. Like,
Yeah.
there's certain maps where you can put the tower in a location that just shuts out the harvs. Maybe. Well, there aren't too many of them I can think of, but yeah, it could have been a an edge case like that. But I mean, yeah,
think
why
so.
why would you want the tower to deal with harvesters? Like, that's just crazy, anyway.
Yeah,
So,
right.
but yeah, like I say, I think that what you said is right because. Unfortunately, he just didn't get enough value out of the tower, and he did play it at the right time. Like the timing was good. I felt like he was going to last until the end of the missile, and it pretty much did. But yeah, he just didn't hit the right targets. And you know what? In that matchup, that's huge. You have to target the right things. So
Exactly. Yep. I think laser drones was also nerfed to that extent. Laser drones do terrible harvester damage.
Oh, yes.
Because of
Yep.
all of those nod. That classic rush that we used to see all the time, laser drone and venom, that would shut down a lot of players that didn't know how to deal with it.
exactly. Yep.
And then probably maps like, I don't know, Middle Oasis. Although Middle Oasis isn't in the lower leagues, I don't believe, is it? So-
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nope.
So I
Alright.
don't know exactly what the thoughts are behind nerfing harvester cane damage.
Yeah, I
Must
don't
be-
know either.
Must be an edge case.
But either way, so we're going to move into game number 2, and we're here back on side by side. So, like Entsorger was saying before, these are pre-selected maps. So that's why you're seeing them so frequently. But yeah, this is game number 2. So lots of adjustments could take place, and we're going to see who might be successful here. But before I do that, I just wanted to mention. So for today, there are going to be some. We're going to be doing some vanity giveaways, and I think actually after this series, we'll probably do our first one. There's going to be 2 viewer giveaways to be done throughout the stream, and then we're also doing 3 participant giveaways for vanity items. So stick around. That will be happening pretty soon. But either way, let's without further ado, let's jump into game number 2.
Establishing battlefield control.
All right, here we go. Mod Productions and Soul Taker Joel. All right, big change up here as we see. I think it's a change in faction from both sides.
New mission
Yeah.
received.
Mod now doing the Inferno, and Soul Taker doing. Wait, is this the exact same deck? No, we had a Hammerhead before.
Yes, it's a bit different. Yeah.
It's a bit different. And we have the Iron Cannon just in case. So I would say Inferno. The only thing that can deal with Inferno here with Missile Troopers and Pitbull, I think it's annoying. It's annoying to have only those 2 units to deal with it. But maybe if he gets off a good value Iron Cannon, that could swing things in his favor. But other than that, I would say my money is on Nod, because Nod is just nuts at the moment.
And looking pretty good here for Mod Productions as he's getting a lot of stall time on the clock. Also securing that top part of the pad. But Soul Taker Joel now switching over into Orca. Of course, this is a bit of a problem here for Mod Productions because that Chem Buggy, he just built it, spent all that money on it, and if the Orca takes it out. But that said, I see Soul Taker Joel just moving his unit onto the bottom. He's just decided to secure the bottom pad. Happy to stall the missile here and probably not realizing what he's up against yet. But, until he sees that Inferno, he might have a bad day.
Unit ready.
Yeah, Chuggy's actually not the greatest on this map, because Chuggy wants to drive through and clean up everything.
Misplay on the bikes there, firing, not really hitting the right target, not firing on the Orca. And now Soul Taker Joel coming with that second Orca from behind, getting onto that pad and install the missile. Now the Orca's going to reload, clearing out the Chem Buggy. The boosted lasers are going to move onto the pad as well. But these militants coming up from behind are absolutely huge, as Mod Productions didn't have the lasers in a good enough position to push and block them off. So now it's just really a matter of time before Soul Taker Joel's going to take that top pad. Does have air units though, so these lasers are going to be able to get back onto the pad, so it's just going to stall just a little bit longer, but hold on, he's going to try and clear them first, and a little bit unfortunate as he left that drone alive, almost nearly losing the lasers, but doesn't really matter too much, as it's not going to help him out, and there we go, Soul Taker Joel takes the missile number 1.
Yup. So Nod has the advantage here, but the fact that these 2 pads are so far apart means you can just plant drones and an Orca together on 1 pad, and for Nod to contest it, Nod needs at least 2 units when they move in. Otherwise, they lose to a defensive, a defensive unit trade, right?
Right.
And so, and the Chuggy can't really flex its arms, where it just raiders past, and then you only need one laser troop and a Chuggy to take over 2 pads. So Nod can't flex here, and Joel's getting a lot more value out of this deck and this map.
Well, speaking of value, Mod Production's getting his first Inferno onto the map, and this is a big problem for Soul Taker Joel, as he's got 2 Predators, which are just juicy targets for it. Granted, it won't clear him in one shot, but hold on a minute, speaking of juicy, here comes an Ion Cannon. Now, taking down that Inferno is absolutely crucial, because this Orca, oh, unfortunately, the Stealth Tank's going to clear it, but this Predator tank coming up from behind is an absolutely master of a tool here, as it's about to clear out that Stealth Tank, getting it. Now the Chem Buggy can't do anything, and there we go. Wow, well played there by Soul Taker Joel.
Yep. So, and then once again you see what a difference decks and maps play when they're different like that. I think really that map was played into Joel's favor so much. I mean, of course, a good Ion Cannon like that definitely helped, right? Like he would have he overcommit to Predator there for sure. Double Pred, that was a mistake. You should have had more supporting units. But the fact that it wasn't punished just because he killed the Inferno and then could make drones and snack off the Stealth Tank, yeah, that was enough. He had a bit of an advantage, and he had an amazing play, and that pulled through for him.
Yeah, I mean, sniping the Inferno really only worked out so well because of the double Predator tank, right? Like, it allowed the Predator tanks to actually gain some value, because then what was left? It was just the Stealth Tank, as you said, and the Chem Buggy, and so, of course, perfect targets for the Predator tank, right? And then because of where they were, he had already built them early enough that they were in a position that they could go back up to that top pad relatively quickly. So I don't necessarily feel like the game was played out in an intentional sense, like he really meant to put that situation in place. It was more like he just happened to be in that situation and took advantage of a good opportunity. But that said, I mean, because like you say, the Predator tank, 2 of them, doesn't really make a lot of sense at the end of the day, right? Like, why would you want 2 of them, especially on side-by-side where slow units really hurt you, right?
Yep.
All right. Well,
yeah,
that's exciting.
When I saw the second Predator, I was thinking to myself, how can he come back from that? What is he gonna do to get some value out of the double Predator? I was thinking, okay, maybe go after the Harvesters, or maybe split them apart. But then when I saw them, he moved them back and brought them together, I could see, yes, the Ion Cannon. So yeah, that worked out for him, and then he had Predators, which are really, without Inferno, he barely gets rid of Predators, and they hold up to lasers forever, and that worked out. That was good. That was an impressive play.
It was, and you look at those decks, right? Like, you look at the decks, and I mean, GDI with Predator, Drone, and Orca versus Inferno, you'd automatically assume that the Inferno deck just has a big advantage. But again, the map really plays a big role in that. And side by side is one of those maps that you just don't like playing, so I think most people avoid it, and for that reason, I think most people aren't really seasoned with it. And that's important. Like, you have to know how to play certain maps, like the positioning of the rocks next to your spawn point. You need to know when to build a unit that goes over top or underneath. These are certain instincts that you have to develop as you practice these maps. And I think that's one thing that we're seeing here is just a lack of practice and experience with that map. But that said, speaking of the map, we're now going to move into our next game here. This is game number 3, and I always love to see these games go to 3. That's always the most exciting scenario. And we're here on Eruption. And Eruption is a really great map. I think it's one of the better ones. The pads and the open area at the top really make for some exciting games. And then all the tip fields down at the bottom allow for a more variety of decks to work on this map. But should be interesting. I don't know if we're going to see any changes, though, Entsorger.
I think so. Because this is a map that favors 2-range units. And I think I saw that the players, they noticed that Giga wasn't much of a threat. They saw Giga not work on side-by-side, and so they played decks that weren't necessarily great against Giga, right? Like, except for Ion Cannon, Soul Taker Joe would have had a problem last game. And I think they're gonna play differently now that they expect these 2-range units.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, without further ado, let's find out if that's the case. And here we go. Game number 3, Mod Productions versus Soul Taker Joel. Is Joel going to take the soul, or is Mod going to finish another production? I guess we're going to find out. That's pretty lame.
That was a good rhyme.
But anyways, let's see here. Wow, Avatar versus APC. Interesting.
Wow, okay. Yeah, well, tech is hard to do these days. It can work. If it does work, it's an instant win, most likely. But Strong Arm is great here. Lots of flying units to get on all the pads. I think Soul Taker Joe is going to take this. And he's been playing very well so far.
Well, and so far it's looking pretty good because Mod Productions is really not stalling the missile at all. And playing a deck like Avatar, you need to get extra time on the clock in order to make that happen. So right now looking very good. And Soul Taker Joel here just going to quietly move on to the pads. He tries to take the lob pad but doesn't get there. And actually, this could be a big problem. We've got the attack bikes on the far right. If Mod Productions can take this missile, that is going to be absolutely monumental for winning this. So, wow. He moves off the pad, but doesn't matter. He's got those two secured, and there it is. Missile number 1 for Mod Productions.
Why, if you're playing tech, why would you stall when you can just win the first missile, you know?
Right?
I think
Right?
that's what he was thinking to himself. He knew that bikes are super strong in this meta, and the Orca was just a little bit too slow. He had defender's advantage on all of the pads. You know, that third rifleman troop was unnecessary. It could have been bikes. He could have had 2 sets of bikes on the front-facing 2 pads. He just had massive map control, and now he can comfortably go double harv while Soul Taker Joe is probably super sweaty with spaghetti on his sweater already.
I love it. Absolutely. Yeah, he's got a bit of a mess here as Soul Taker Joel gets his APC online, but losing that first missile is absolutely a big, big problem. And now, we are a little ways away from seeing that first Avatar, and I'm sure the audience is really excited to see that, because how often do you get to see an Avatar pop out during a tournament game? Not too often,
yeah.
So I'm personally excited for that, but Soul Taker Joel here looking pretty good. I mean, he's got that APC on the middle pad. He throws that turret down a little bit early, but does manage to clear out that militant just in the nick of time, drawing the missile towards him just a little bit longer. But that said, that's not really the important thing here, and even if he does win this missile, that just may not be enough. Alright, well, looking pretty good, but look at this. Avatar coming out now. Soul Taker Joel does manage to take that second missile, but this Avatar is going to be an absolute problem.
Yeah, now he needs lots and lots of Orcas. Let's see if he can do it in time. He definitely has the money for it. Man, if only if he would have had the Iron Cannon instead, right?
Oh, look at that. The Avatar does go down to a few Orca volleys there. And that is absolutely big. I mean, so, Mod Productions now, we're at 2 minutes and 30. We're at 2:44 actually. And that means the economy is completely ramped up. So for Mod Productions, that's great. That means he's going to be able to get maximum tip for this with those harvesters. And here it is. Another harvester or Avatar pops out. And we're not even halfway on this missile. So unfortunate for Soul Taker Joel because he does manage to get that first one, but now has to face the second one.
Yeah, he's doing a little bit of a rookie mistake here, which is thinking the Avatar is indestructible and not protecting it with lasers.
Well, it looks like he's now finally starting to do that. Getting the boost on the Avatar is getting all over this APC, and Soul Taker Joel not responding to it. He's got all the money in the world, but instead is just letting that APC get absolutely demolished by the Avatar. And having said that, though, he's going to try and get onto that far right pad. No blocks with the missiles there, and oh, the flip! Hold on a minute, folks! The drone storm's not targeting the lasers. An absolute big misplay here, and it might just be enough to give Mod Productions the game. There it is. Avatar coming out on top. Winning missile number 3, giving Mod Productions the series and the game. Wow.
That was
good.
That was an impressive harv pull. That was an impressive harv pull. He could have
Yeah,
had that.
it was.
If he would have danced right. I mean, he would have to pull off a fantastic dance, you know, limbo and tango and everything, because to the damage that an Avatar does, you know, you'll fall if you don't dance properly. But that harv pull, he had a shot at it, and he threw away his first Avatar. You know, as I said, that rookie mistake where like, yeah, okay, I got out my first Avatar, hasta la vista, and then you just charge in and don't. I mean, yeah, it's an Avatar. It has more HP, and it can do that to a certain extent. But just going out of position when the missile is not even close to firing, you know, that's just too greedy. Just bring in some missiles, support the Avatar. He wouldn't have lost the first one, and he would have had much smoother sailing, and not even been open to that little harvester trick that Joel almost pulled off.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, I agree with you. Like when you pointed out the fact that it just seems like he's really feeling like this unit is indestructible. Yeah, I mean that's the way he played it. He was really throwing it up front and being very aggressive with it. Which, yeah, okay. So like you're spending 230 tib on this thing, and yes, you get a ton of stats for that money. But at the same time, as you saw there, a few Orca volleys, and already it's chipped all the way down. I mean, the thing is, the Orca does 2,000 damage per volley, right? And it costs 70. And the Avatar, I believe it has, it's I think it's 6,400 or 6,500 hit points. I don't remember the exact number, but it's right around there. So the Orca, 3 volleys, I mean, you know, you do the math, that's 210 Tib over 3 Orcas, or if you manage to get 2 out of 1, I mean, you're even further ahead. And then clearing out the Avatar and throwing him down the drain, that really puts him into a tough spot. So that was really tough. But, I mean, Mod Productions managed to come out at the end. As you said, the Harvester pull from Soul Taker's Roar was great, but the fact was he was so far ahead, it just wasn't enough. So really good stuff there. That was a great series. Really, really great games.
Yep. And tech is so rare these days that, you know, even if you don't like it, it's still interesting to see it come out now. And now we saw two avatars instead of what, 4? Which is what we would have seen before. So it's not quite as oppressive, and it makes for some unusual games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you love to see that, right? Like seeing Avatar in a competitive setting. I mean, I really like the Avatar. I think the super unit design thing is kind of silly, but the design of it's really neat. I mean, it is super strong. It's a double damage unit that has Raider, right? But the truth is, it's really cool, and it's kind of sad to see that this unit doesn't get more play because it's just not that viable competitively. But yeah, here it is, and it did win a game in the series, so that's fantastic. Now, so I have started the raffle for the vanity giveaway, and I apologize. The command is a little different than the other streams that you're used to. It is !join. So type that into chat, and then you will get entered into the raffle. It is not !raffle. It is !join. So make sure you use that. My apologies. It's just the way the bot worked out. They just wouldn't let me use the raffle command because of how it's coded. Anyways, use !join and you'll get in. But that said, let me get the name set up for the next matchup here. We're going to have Popes versus Funic. Oh man, this is going to be a good one.
I don't think I've ever played them. I think I've played Popes a couple times, but Funic, never played him.
He's good. I actually had to play him in RTL recently, and I felt kind of bad because he wanted to play me because I cast some of his games for RTL, and he was looking forward to it, but I was proper rusty, right? I hadn't played in a couple of months, so I was just so much worse. But I have to admit, like, Funic was a really strong player. He played Mutant Chuggy against me, and his Chembuggy micro was really good. Like, he was placing it away from the lasers at the right time to avoid shots and things like that. So you could tell, like, this guy's pretty well practiced with his micro. Popes, he's a well-seasoned player too. He's actually been one of the more up-and-coming competitive players. Like, he's been a good Rivals player for a long time, but for tournaments, he's been playing in a lot more of them recently, over the last 6 months to a year. And he's actually one of my fellow teammates. We play together in RTL. He's actually a really strong player. He's definitely somebody to watch out for, but so is Funic. So why don't we kick this off, Entsorger?
All right, let's go.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Popes versus Funic here on Blind Spot. And a nice new map for us, as this is going to be quite a big change-up, and Funic bringing Strong Arm. That's an interesting choice.
Oh man, this is such an unusual map. I can't remember the last time I played this. I think it must have been in a tournament. Yeah, you never see it in Tiberium League. So I'm not sure what the turret placement looks like here. I would imagine you want to be fighting for the top pads. I think it looks like you would get a good turret on the top pads, but the tendency is to always fight for the pad that is the most, that is centered the most, and so they're gonna probably be fighting bot.
And so far, that's been the case. We got double wheel from Popes coming out, dealing with Funic's infantry. Funic now getting a pretty decent 2v1 against those wheels. Or sorry, getting 1v1 against the wheels there. But having said that, coming down to the missile now, Drone Storm's going to be able to move on to the pad. We got the missiles up, moving up to the top. So the missile's actually going to stall. A nice Harvester pull from Popes. That's exactly the kind of stuff you expect to see from this extremely well-talented player. But Funic going to respond here with the Drone Storm, but he's not going to be able to get onto that left pad. The Harvester's going to completely block those missiles. So there we go. Popes takes missile number 1.
Oh wow, okay. So turret position is great. That question has been answered, but that Harv position trumps the turret position. Man,
absolutely.
What a fantastic play. I could see when the Flamers came out and the drones came out after playing this deck myself so many times. Now's the time you want to stall, because when the drones start fighting the Flamers, you need an Orca to back it up fast. and the timing just wasn't there because Popes pressured him with the Harvester. That was just perfect.
So first Orca comes out here from Funuk, getting a couple of volleys off against the attack bikes, and that's pretty much where he needs to be, just clearing out these attack bikes with the Orca, because Popes doesn't have access to lasers, and not having lasers to deal with these Orcas can be a huge problem if he begins to fall behind. That said though, nice play on the pads here, Popes moving up, he's got the Harvester pull again, really brilliant play, nice militant play from Funuk as well. Can he block the bikes? That's what he needs to do, and he needs to clear these flames on the bottom pad as well. Turn not really in a good enough spot to do it, and he's got to dance back and forth at the top pad, trying to divide his focus, and it's going to be really hard. He's just hanging on for dear life. You gotta love to see this absolutely masterful gameplay. Now Funuk bought enough time to get an Orca in position onto that top pad, clearing up the bikes, and man, this is exactly the kind of stuff you see in high caliber Rivals gameplay. Now he's in a good position to move his Orca over to the left. He's going to try and get it onto the pad. It should charge, but the second set of bikes are going to clear it, so it's just going to stall for a little bit longer, and having lost that positioning, Popes pulls his Harvester back, and now, oh, so close, but the drones just could not block the bikes, so nearly was Funuk's missile there. The drone swarms there. Can they hold on long enough? And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. In fact, I think it's going to be a flip. Holy cow, here we go. The Orca going to clear the bikes, but no, not enough time. And there it is. Popes takes it down 2-1, or sorry, 2-0. Really phenomenal game there.
Oh man, I'm kind of speechless.
Yeah,
like,
me too. That was insane. Insane.
Funix, amazing micro. Look at that. He played that perfectly. We had the Harv pull, but that dance at the top while managing to build new Orcas and send them out, you know, it was perfect.
Yep.
And on top of that, Popes was had the disadvantage of having no money because he did a Harv pull for what, over 30 seconds. But the fact that bikes are just so fast and so cheap. Yeah, you know, and he was making drones because, you know, it cost him a lot to build that turret. That turret nerf, the price increase on the turret is still being felt to this day. And the fact that he had to switch down into drones instead of when he wanted to keep on making Orca is when he lost that momentum, and then he fell behind, and then the bike spam could still continue being so cheap and so fast. I didn't expect that.
What a game. Oh, absolutely insane. Like, you just don't get to see that too often. Like, you were talking about the dancing of that rifleman on that top pad, and he was also trying to clear the bottom pad at the same time. It's kind of unfortunate, right? Because the flames got onto that bottom pad, and that made it really hard. Because if he gets that bottom pad, and then he can focus on dancing against the bikes, he takes it, right? But oh, man, it still didn't work out quite in the end. I mean, Pope's just fiercely fighting for the pads, like the Harvester pulls, and is still managing to make that work. But like you said, I think, yeah, pulling the Harvs was really great, but he did lose a lot of money as a result, so it was hard for him to respond in certain situations.
I know, but he didn't lose enough, unfortunately. The basic income was enough for bike spam, them being so cheap. And then the fact that that Funnick didn't bring more Orcas, that was the thing. I would have liked to ideally I would like to go and review this game and look at what his economy looked like when he switched into drones, because I think the turret was the decisive factor there, where he switched from drones into from Orca into drones, and just out of desperation, and that's when he then fell behind.
Well, speaking of desperation, we're not quite there yet, right? Because we still have 2 more games to go potentially, so nobody's down and out just yet, and we're here on Hold the Line, much different map than what we just saw. So, could be some very interesting adjustments, but let's find out. Shall we kick it off?
We shall.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Game number 2, and if that first game is anything to go by, you know this next one's going to be a good one. And here we go. Nod grudge match coming up for you next.
Probably no Harvester pulls this time, but you never know. Pope still no missiles, and now we see the good old classic Inferno Chuggy Nod deck. Who are you gonna bet on?
Well, I mean, the Phantom really helps out against the Inferno. The Stealth Tank, though, the Stealth Tank cancels out the Shade and the Phantom, in my opinion. The Tank, though, the Tank could be a big tool early game. That's what I could see potentially helping Popes out a lot. And he is going to need that against Funuk, because if Funuk gets to his late game, then, Pope's going to have a hard time. It just really comes down to the Phantom versus Stealth Tank interaction, and who gets more value out of that. And if Funuk manages to keep his Infernos alive, he does have really good micro, so I expect to see that. But, as we've seen, it's a tough unit to pull off. So Having said that, though, here we go, missile number 1, and this one's going to be a critical one, as we do have a late game deck in Funic, and looking pretty good here for Popes. He's got both the top pads, and nice dancing with the flames, blocking those bikes from getting in position, and that gives him missile number 1.
Absolute seamless switch there on those 2 hexes with the flames. Very, very nicely executed, very clean. And now he needs a tank, and then he'll be able to get this Chuggy down. He's already ahead. He hasn't had to build a tank yet, which is great. You know, a Chuggy that's late to the party is not a happy Chuggy.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that Genbuggy wants to get out there early and start spraying the weeds. And so far doing that, but not going to be able to protect it very well, as this Genbuggy just completely left wide open against the tank and the flames here. Pope's doing a very smart play, keeping his tank and his flames together. That's exactly what you want to do in a combined on deck. Just make sure that they stick together. And on this map, not hard to pull that off because the pad's being centrally located here. So looking pretty good here for Pope. So he's got those flames on the far left. Genbuggy coming up from behind, though. The tank trying to get at it, nearly getting some damage against the flames, and he does take some damage, but now getting up against the Genbuggy. The laser go down. Bike can't get onto the pads, and Funic can't respond. So there it is. Pope takes the game number 2 and missile number 2.
Yeah. He definitely had the early game advantage with tank, and then it just takes that economy nerf that makes it so that you need a little bit more time to tech switch like that. You know, every tech switch essentially was nerfed with the economy nerf as like a side product, and so
Yes.
the person who has to do less tech switches is the one who is ahead in such cases. He only has to make flamers and tank, whereas Funic has to starts infantry, then makes his Chuggy, and then he needs his Inferno. And yeah, that's just unfortunate at the moment.
Yeah, tough game, especially after the first one. Boy, was that a great game. And game 2 was a little bit more one-sided, I would say. Pope's really just dominated from the beginning to the end. And Funic just we've never saw an Inferno, right? Like, he just never got there. So Pope's really just played that very well. And you know what? Like, you look at a game like that and you might think, wow, you know, Funic really just couldn't do anything. But actually, the truth is, Pope's is a very strong player. And for Funic to do what he did, I mean, you saw what he did in that first game. You could clearly tell what Funic's capable of. And, yeah, no, I mean, he was clearly a good opponent for Popes, but yeah, just came up short, and it was a pretty close series in general. Just that second game, a bit of a feels bad, and we are on a single elimination tournament, so he is knocked out, and that's just the way she goes sometimes. But having said that, Kenny's asking me about not wearing my glasses. Yeah, actually, so my ring light reflects really heavily off the glasses, so I opted not to wear them. They are kicking around here somewhere. And also, I see that Samarot has won our first viewer giveaway, so that's fantastic. There we go. All right, first giveaway done.
Congrats.
And there, of course, will be more to come, so stick around for that. I think, actually, we are going to do one of our first participant giveaways before we jump into our next match. So, well, let me just check and see if we got that ready to go, and it looks like we do. We have finished round 1, folks, so we've moved through that, and now we're going to move on to round number 2. So, yeah, I think this is a perfect time to do a participant giveaway. All right, so I've got it all set up here and ready to go. And I hope you guys... Oh, hold on. I need to change something here really quickly. Let me do that. Because the number of participants changed. So let me just get the correct number.
I'll be right back while you do that.
Sounds good. There are 26. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to pull a number between 1 and 26. And then we are going to use that number to dictate the number of the participant on the list, and that is who the winner is going to be. Okay, so let me just get it set up. There we go. Okay. Are you ready, folks? Who's going to be our first participant vanity giveaway winner? And the winner is number 12. Who is number 12? Number 12 is, wow, it's Funic. Right on, Funic. You have won a raffle for Vanity. So fantastic. That's great. You lost to Popes, but you win Vanity. That's a great little prize for you, huh? There we go. All right. So to claim your prize, reach out to Pontiki on the Discord. If you're wondering who that is, he made the announcement for this tournament. So just reach out to him, give him your details, your in-game username, and I don't know what other information he needs, but he'll tell you. But just reach out to him and he'll make that happen. All right, well, good stuff, and that is great. Lovely to see one of our players who got knocked out managed to win a vanity item, so that's great. All right, so while we're waiting for Entsorger here, we're just going to get the next game set up. So just a moment. But wow, guys, it's been a good tournament so far. I mean, you guys always bring the great games, right? Like that first game between Funnick and Popes there. Man, was that was a heck of a good game. Really, really enjoyed that. It just tells you how good this game really is and how good it can be. All right. So yeah, we're probably going to do more of these. The idea behind this tournament is we're doing something a little bit more low-key so that it's easier to run, so that means we have it's easier for us to put these together. So yeah, if you guys like this, definitely let us know. I mean, we're definitely going to consider doing more of them, and yeah, should be lots of fun ahead. But yeah, that said, we are going to get our next game underway. So it's going to be, this is now featuring round 2, and our first matchup is going to be a heck of a good one. Oh man, Better Way versus Bia. Oh boy, that's just going to be great. So let me ping the players here. We'll get them in, and then we'll get underway pretty quickly.
If Bia plays a different deck, you have to play the lottery. You know the rules, right?
Right. Yeah. If he plays something like Giga
Yes.
or Inferno,
If he plays
or anything,
one
yeah.
unit, any unit that isn't in his standard deck, the stars have aligned. You know what to do.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Put it all on red, all in. That's when you know. That's the universe telling you.
So what Entsorger is talking about, in case for those of you who don't know, Bia is a player that, he's one of those few players, like Lapaka, for example, who likes to use only a couple of decks. And actually, Bia has, over the years, made some alterations to those decks, but by and large, they're generally the same. So that's more or less what we're talking about. If Bia actually decides to try something different, that would be really interesting. I mean, you'll see. Bia is a really good player, and if he does play what he's comfortable with, I mean, you can see why he plays those decks a lot. He's just very good with them. And even players who have an advantage with deck tend to lose to him just because he's so good with it. So yeah, no, but believe me, it's it would be nice to see something different from him, but at the same time, I mean, I understand if something works, why fix it, right? But yeah, it'd be amazing if he decides to change it here today. That would be crazy.
A lot of people, when the meta changes, they change their deck. But Bia waits for the meta to change to his deck.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He always kind of makes it work. Like, he's a very stubborn player in that regard. But you have to give him credit where credit is due. And that is the fact that he makes it work with that deck. He
does.
He's fairly competent, and if you don't bring a extremely tough counter to his deck, chances are, unless you're not rusty or like a top tier player or something, he's gonna crush you. Bia is a great player.
He is, yeah. And like, I'm excited for this matchup. It's Better Way versus Bia. Like, these are two players that I really consider to be pretty close to each other in terms of skill, like in terms of micro, and even in terms of style of gameplay. Because Better Way has great tank micro, so does Bia. I don't know what Better Way's going to play. He may not play tanks, I don't know. But, I mean, I've seen similar things from both of these players, and so, for me, this is a match I'm particularly excited about for that reason. So, well, I mean, I think we got our players ready to go, so if you're ready, Bia, you're not Bia, you're Entsorger! If you're ready, Entsorger, I think, shall we kick it off?
Yes.
Alright, let's do it. Here we go, folks. Our first game, Bia versus Better Way, here on Hold the Line, and we're starting off with a Nod grudge match, and Kane making another appearance. You'll love to see it.
Yeah, Kane is really good here. And the fact that Better Way is playing the Nod crushing deck against Nod, and Bia has Banshee, all the pain. I don't think, okay, Better Way has to do this, man. There's just too much deck advantage for it to go any other way. Bia is a great player, but I think map and deck advantage are going to pull their weight here. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree. So when I played Bia on RTL, when I was theory crafting about how to take him down, the easiest way was by having a deck that just completely countered whatever he brought. And Kane is one of the best ways to do that, because the tower taking out the tank just shuts down his whole game plan, because he relies heavily on tanks to make it work. And once you get rid of the tanks, he has a very hard time, especially like then he has to go to lasers, and then you just clear it up with like Chem Buggy or something like that, and it just gets really hard from there. So yeah, I have to agree with you. Better Way has brought a really good tool for this deck, or for this map. So having said that, Bia looking actually good here, as he's going to be able to take up this missile with... He's got the tank on the middle pad. The bikes are going to clear it, though, but he has his bikes coming in from behind, so doesn't matter. There we go. Nice pad play there from Bia, and he takes missile number 1.
Yep. the oppressive, that ramp, that deck ramp from the tank is just so good. Just like with the previous game on this map, that switch into T3 or T2 armor is just so seamless. So that'll give him the first missile. But I think Better Way, who now has the more expensive deck ramp up with Air Tower and with Kane, just needs a little time for that to unfold, and then when it does, we're going to see a huge comeback. But, maybe I'm wrong. You never know. It can always go both ways.
Well, speaking of change-up, here comes a Shade from Better Way, swapping over to that for his anti-vehicle unit, and clearing up that tank is great. Of course, it was low hit points, so really easy for that Shade to go get it, but nice micro here from Better Way, putting the lasers in front of the Shade, stopping the bikes from getting volleyed off on it, and really unfortunate here is he's splitting his units up just a little bit. Another Shade coming in from behind here, unloads onto the Flames, actually clearing one of the models, so maybe not that total loss in terms of value, but these double Shades here might be a bit of an overcommitment as we're moving into missile number 2, and this one Banshee here kind of being a bit of a problem because, well, the Shades can't clear it as they only target ground, so this Banshee here is actually getting a ton of value. Now with this boost on it is getting even more value, and this is looking very good. Bia is already on, he's getting onto all 3 pads here. He's got that Banshee, low hit points, so not moving the bikes onto that bottom section there from Better Way. A little bit of a surprise as, well, there it is. Bia takes it. Missile number 2 and first game.
Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, the Flamers pressed missiles, and the tank did the work in the early game for the first missile, and then after that, I think that was just a little bit of being flustered, right? Like, he could have had that. He had taken up the Banshee. He could have blocked the Flamers and just let the bikes finish off the Banshee. He could have had that missile, and then that would have definitely given him the time to get ahead there, I think.
Yeah, like, it was just awkward because, like, the Shade came out and once it got rid of the tank, it just didn't have any other targets. And then from there, the Banshees just became so good because he was overcommitted on them. And then that's all he had to do. And the nice thing was, Bia didn't really, like, pump out the Banshees, right? Like, he was switching up his unit composition, where some people tend to just go into the same unit, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to make one. Well, 2 is better than 1, right? So I'm going to make another one. But Bia held off, and that was smart. Because, yeah, switching up his units there a little bit and not relying on the Banshee was good. But it just, the fact that Banshee became good in that game just demonstrates what kind of position Better Way was in, right? So, a bit too bad there for him.
I think there were some leftover targets after the tank. One of the things I did notice in that matchup was the Shades. He lost control of his micro. Bia very cleverly and quickly moved the bikes away, and so what happened was the Shades unloaded on the Flamers, and then he couldn't get rid of the Shades properly. Yeah, and the thing is, you also a strong point about that deck is keeping Shade and Venom together, especially when you're fighting against only ground. Because, a Shade Volley will completely destroy a bike squad except for, like, 1 HP. And that 1 HP, the Venom will kill while it's approaching. So that unit combo together will kill all ground if you keep them together. And you want to... And to be able to keep them together, you have to be on the top double pads. You don't want to be splitting up and moving down to the bottom one. And that is what he did. He let himself get taken apart. And Kane, should you bring out Kane, you also want to bring out Kane on those 2 top pads. That's where you want to be fighting. But he lost sight of that vision, of the strategy for that deck.
Yeah, I have to agree. Like, that's exactly what I thought too when he split up his Shades there. And he had the Venom in the bottom part of the map and the Shade at the top. He built a second Shade and he split them up again. Yeah, it was just kind of awkward, right? So, yeah, but too bad there. But hey, you know what? We're moving into game number 2, so there is a very good chance here that Better Way turns this around. And you have to expect, I mean, players of this caliber, yeah, you got to expect something like that to take place. So, well, I think we're ready to start the game, actually.
Yep, Bia to it.
Let's do it. All right, Bia. You'll love it. All right, Bia versus Better Way, and here we go. Another Nod Grudge match. We are on a very different map here, the Pillbox, and we'll see what kind of decks they brought.
I love this map. This is, I think, one of my favorite maps. I don't know, it's just interesting. I just like how it's laid out. Can't really explain it. But, of course, Bia's still going to play the same deck no matter what. It worked for him before. He managed to pull it off with his fantastic micro. Better Way, probably knowing that he had a little bit of a deck advantage there, is bringing the same deck and think, oh, maybe I'm just going to play it better. Although he did switch from Kane, because I guess he realized he didn't have the money for that anyway. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, the Seth drill pod could be really impactful against Biot, because if he's got a laser sitting on a back pad and pops a drill pod there, potentially the Flames take that pad and then that wins him a missile. But because Biot doesn't really have anything that's potent, right? Like, his Flames are his most potent anti-infantry unit. He doesn't have Chem Buggy, he doesn't even have Venom or anything like that, so the Flames are really going to be the only major issue here for Betterway for Seth drill pod, so we'll see. If he manages to get a lot of value out of it, perhaps it's a better choice. Speaking of that, though, here we go. I mean, we're getting close to this first missile. Betterway looking a little better. He got into his shade a bit early, just opting to go from his Hand of Nod into his air tower, and might pay off for him here. The Shade's not going to have a lot of targets, so we got the Venom coming on the bottom, but the Shade is going to clear up these wheels. We got the lasers coming in from behind. Biot using that great micro and positioning to understand what's about to take place, but doesn't matter. Now with all 3 pads covered, Banshee doesn't have enough time to kill on that Venom, and well, there it is. Betterway making his comeback.
Yeah, you know, Banshees are a little bit punishing here because he's playing a bunch of air. So, Banshee being as bad as it is, does have a little bit of a utility here, you gotta say, because Betterway really relies on his air to take care of Flamers and to really handle Biot's deck. So the fact that he has an air-to-air unit is actually playing to his favor here.
That's about the only thing Banshee's good for, right? It's just its unit roll.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only, except for, no wait, Phantom only attacks air, yeah.
But Phantom's just so much better compared to Banshee. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Banshee actually has an important role to play in this matchup because it can deal with those shades. It won't uncover them, but it will push them back, and that's the important thing. Well, here we go. So speaking of Seth drill pods, Betterway pulling out that Seth drill pod on that left pad might be a little bit early. He is going to win that pad, though, so maybe it was worthwhile, but we're so close to this missile that I don't know if the timing's going to pay off for him, as he could have used it to potentially flip the pad. That Banshee on the bottom pad of the map, though, kind of sitting there doing nothing. I don't know if Biot's going to realize it, but here we go. Betterway's got all the 3 pads here. He's going to block it. No, doesn't block the Banshee, and because of its air-to-air unit roll, it is going to clear up that Venom. So now we've got the lasers moving in behind. Will clear up that Banshee, but the Shade should hold long enough. Flames moving in back and forth. This is exactly what you see from these really skilled players, moving units back and forth to try and get the favorable matchup. But never mind. I think Betterway now has them all. And, oh, just about got the block and didn't quite do it. And now it looks like it's going to flip over. But never mind. Betterway still has a better positioning, blocks it with the Shade, and there it is. And really unfortunate there is that Banshee PopCap Biot threw that entire missile.
Yep. That is, but it still came close, and that's a testament to Biot's fantastic micro. The fact that he can essentially hold on for so long with a unit behind, but in the end, it's too much. It's too much. Having 1 pop cup less is huge in this game, right?
Yeah.
Like even losing your harvester towards the end, near the end of a missile, is often beneficial because of the pop cap that it gives you. And the fact that he had that here the entire time, it's too much. It's too much.
It was surprising, actually, because that's, you know what, every player, like I'm sure every Rivals player in their histories run into that, where they've left a unit somewhere and forgot about it, and and just keep playing the game. It's kind of unfortunate to see, though, at this level, because that's one of the things you really have to get out of your game, those types of mistakes, because losing a pop cap is just so detrimental. And yeah, look at this. I mean, Biot could have closed that series out. I bet you if he'd sacrificed that Banshee, got it out, and freed up that pop cap, he's probably in a good position to try and win that. But yeah, that really just hamstringed him throughout that entire missile. So kind of too bad to see that. But hey, you know what? Betterway still played well enough to make his way back into the series. So here we are going into game number 3. You'll love to see that.
Yeah. I mean, no slouch. I mean, sorry, Betterway's no slouch. And chances are, maybe even if Biot hadn't forgot that, he would have outplayed him still. You never know.
Yeah.
And,
right. True.
So I would say he's still deserving of the win because he still played that well. He played a good deck. He tried out something else. He switched to Seth. So he's on top of his game for sure.
Totally, yeah. Like that's why I was excited for this matchup, because these two players have really good micro. They're both well seasoned. Like they've both been playing quite a bit. So yeah, that exactly right. Like Betterway is clearly a very good player here, and it's nice to see him play in tournaments, right? Like clearly he should play in more tournaments because he's giving Biot a run for his money. So yeah, it's great. It's great. Good stuff. Okay, so the next match is going to be featured on open water. So I know a lot of people love open water. The fact with the pads all close to the middle of the map makes for some really exciting games. Does change up what kind of decks we're going to see, though. So I don't know. I mean, Bia here, this would be the chance for him to shine and change up his deck, right? Like, this is the opportunity, I would say. But I don't know. It depends on what Better Way might play, too, because that's the other thing, right? Like, Bia could bring Giga, and then Better Way plays Inferno, and, well, you're not feeling too great after that, right?
Yep, exactly.
So
We'll see.
oh boy. Well, let's find out here, and let's get to the conclusion of this very exciting series between Bia and Better Way. Let's finish it off. Here we go. Game number 3. Bia versus Better Way, and wow, what a change up here. Better Way bringing Jade. Oh man. And Better Way is a bit of a Jade player, so not surprising to see him play it, but I am surprised to see him bring it into a tournament.
Wow. Okay, so it's Jade,
There is no
Chems,
denying my
and
genius.
Venom, just to give that
A
extra
cerebral maneuver.
assistance to the.
Unit ready.
Oh wow, he just wants to win the infantry war and then hope that BR can't handle it and just kind of win on infantry. I think that must be his strategy here. And then he can throw in a Jade missile if need be,
Unit ready.
because he's just playing infantry and Venom maybe. We'll see what he does now.
I mean, you look at this matchup, and Bia's only anti-infantry is Shocks. Now, granted, against Chem Warriors, Shocks are pretty good, right? But the wheels to support could be a problem. I mean, the tank and the Pitbull don't really clear up the wheels that quickly, so hard to say, though. I mean, the wheels, if they don't get enough value, then the Shocks should win against the Chems.
It's so much anti-infantry.
It is.
Wheels, Venom, Chems. Like, yeah, he can just force this game to be an infantry battle and win it from there.
Well, let's see who's going to win this missile, and getting that lone missile up on the far right, not getting the block on the wheels, but doesn't matter. Really wasn't going to change the outcome there, as those bikes were trying to make their way onto that far left pad, just couldn't get there, and Bia takes missile number 1.
Yeah. Maybe it's not going to pan out. I mean, that's what it looks like now. For that to work, you need to dominate. You need to have map control with those infantry that you're, you know, doubling down on. And I think Bia is he just has so much map control, not losing it. And then, you know, if you can't push through with those infantry, it doesn't matter what you build because you're on your own back pad. At the end of the day, you need map control, pad control. Sorry.
And speaking of pad control, Better Way now inching his way up. He got those Chem Warriors onto that middle pad and is slowly starting to take back the map, but we're seeing it come back and forth. But hold on, will this Jade missile clear things up for him? And it kind of does, actually. The Scorpion tank now going to be able to move up. The wheels are inching their way up through the top there, although I think he probably meant to micro them underneath, but at least they're in position now. The Scorpion tank is going to go down to these missiles with the Pitbull, and unfortunate as that Jade missile now, he did gain some map position with it, but he's just lost it all again. And as we're inching towards the second missile, Bia looking pretty comfortable as he's got the Shocks moving over to the far right. No block from the Chems, and well, there it is. Bia clears it out. 2 games to 0.
That was risky.
Very.
That was a very risky play by Better Way. I don't know what he was
Unit
thinking.
lost.
Excuse me. Maybe it was because, you know, he doesn't play tournaments very often. Maybe he just wanted to have some fun. I don't know what it was, but the thing is, maybe he didn't even recognize the strength of that matchup, of that deck. To make it an infantry war and to win based on an infantry war, you kind of have to force it to be an infantry war. And that entails not being intimidated by the fact that Bia is not immediately engaging it. Bia kept bringing Pitbulls and other units, whereas Better Way would have had to just plant 5 Chems on the pads. That's it. And then something to deal with like the air when the air comes. If that works, you know, he just can't remove the Chems, and that's what he had to play towards. And I don't, maybe he didn't recognize that in time.
Yeah, I mean, like, he has to win the Shock War, and if he wins the Shock War, then he shuts down missiles, and then if missiles get shut down, the tanks get worse. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where he was aiming for, and it was nice to see a Jade missile come out. It was really unfortunate that he actually had, like, you could see what it was going. It was denying area, and that's exactly what he did. He did get some decent value out of it in terms of what he cleared, but the most important thing he gained with that was map control, and it was kind of sad to see that the Jade missile actually doing something good, and then it was immediately ripped away because he just couldn't maintain the map control. Bia with the Predator tanks, the Predator tank was the real problem, right? Like, he just didn't have anything that was really going to deal with it effectively, so it was an interesting game plan, but I have to agree with you. I'm not sure what the thinking was behind that, especially in a do or die situation like that, right? So
yeah. and then throwing so much money into a missile and not getting any real value out of it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he killed a bunch of stuff. That's true, but the fact that Bia was able to come in and replenish it, and chems being so expensive, it didn't pan out for him. And if you don't get anything, or if you don't get anything significant out of the commander power that you're using, and you use Jade, then it's almost as if you didn't have a commander power. And you can
Exactly.
just-
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas imagine if he could have boosted those chems or something, right? That would have
Right.
played out a lot easier. Yeah, especially winning on an infantry war like that.
Well, and in any Jade tournament that has ever been done, the funny thing is, the way to win those tournaments is to not play Jade. And it's just because it costs 80, it's expensive, and it often throws you behind. Like, it just throws you under the bus so frequently because, yeah, you just don't get enough value out of it, and it doesn't really work that well. It's hard to pull off. If it was really easy to pull off, though, the problem with that then is it becomes way too good, right? So it's just like, I don't know what you do with it, right? It just sucks because Jade missiles have just become this meme, and it's too bad because you're, like you said, it's almost as if you have no commander power throughout that game. So
it's tough to balance Jade. Yep.
It is.
That's why it's been in this little pickle jar the entire time, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, speaking of pickle jars, it looks like we got an interesting pickle of a match coming up ahead because we got Serpus versus Samerlot, and I'm sure you're all familiar with these two names. Serpus and Samerlot are both very good players. Serpus ranked #1 on the ladder right now. And of course, the ranking in game doesn't dictate who's the best, but we all know Serpus. He's a very, very good player. And Samerlot too. I mean, Samerlot is a very, very good player as well. I have to admit, I think he's got a tough hill to climb here against Serpus, but you know what? In a tournament setting where you have map and deck choice, well, not map choice necessarily, but choosing decks makes a big difference. So we'll have to see if that's the case. And well, are you ready, Entsorger?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Game #1, here we go.
Establishing
Serpus
battlefield control.
versus Samerlot. And all right, Serpus playing Ion Cannon. Solomon, interesting.
2, 1.
Serpus
New
versus
objectives received.
Samerlot. So many S's. I bet
Building
these guys are
online.
both in Slytherin.
Yeah, I bet.
Ready.
Wow, okay, so it's gonna be MG, which is, it's a decent MG map, but it is a long walk. You open water maps that have a short walk for the MG are often
Unit
best,
ready.
but if anyone can pull it off, it's probably Serpus. Having said that though, Giga, when charged up, will easily take care
Building
of an
online.
MG. So, Samerlot, if he plays his cards right, could definitely win this as well.
The only interesting thing to point out would be the MG versus Giga interaction. And as you said, like, if the Giga's in place first, the Giga will win. But if the MG gets set up, I think the MG is going to win. We'll have to see here as, well, Samerlot now gets his first Giga out, and the MGs are getting into position. And look at this, SRP is going double MG. Look at, now you're about to see this take place. The MG is going to actually, no, wait a minute. No, the Giga with the boost. Oh, look at that. The MGs just couldn't get the job done. And, well, now Samerlot looking pretty good here. He's got that Giga planted on that middle pad, and these MGs just can't clear it out. Very surprising, because oftentimes MGs can, but it really does depend on the positioning. Having said that, though, Samerlot with that Chem Buggy up in front of the Giga, now going to block that Pitbull, and there he is, taking missile #1.
Major structural
Yeah,
damage
I think
received.
they very closely trade if a Giga walks in onto an MG. But the fact that Samerlot got some wheels in there made all the difference in the world.
Right.
And then yeah, that just took Serpus apart here. And now he's on his back foot, and he has to double down. This is what Serpus needs to do to beat lots of Gigas with Chuggies. Is just double down on MG, reinforce your position, and that's what he's going for here as well.
Isn't this the most disgusting game of Rivals you've ever seen in your entire life? Giga
I've
versus
seen worse.
MG? It's just so gross. But look at this, man. So the Giga pushing up, and the Chem Cloud getting placed on the MG is absolutely huge. As you see there, the Giga manages to survive, and now another Chem Buggy coming up from behind. Serpus, not really able to defend the MGs appropriately, is going to lose it to that Chem Buggy. And of course, now exposing the Giga here means these double Pitbull here are going to clear it up. So that's actually very good for Serpus. He's going to be able to get that MG in position again.
Yeah, now he's out of money, and Serpus is taking map control. It's going to be very hard to come back from this now. Serpus is now very ready to block. He's upped his game now. I don't think Samerlot's coming back from this anymore.
It looks
Coming
pretty
back
tough. I mean, this MG on this middle pad here is likely going to do a lot of damage now because it's in position. And on top of that, Serpus has a couple of Pitbulls to throw in front of it. So Samerlot here trying to make a push, but he only has Giga. He doesn't have anything to really throw. He doesn't have an air unit. So, yeah, it's just kind of an unfortunate missile loss here for him.
Yep. The decisive factor there was the fact that he always got a supporting unit in front of the Giga to help against the MG. That just makes all the difference in the world. Oh, but it's
Oh, the
happening
push.
again.
Here we go. So the wheels push up against the MG. The Giga is not going to take shots from that second MG, but it is going to clear that first set, and that is absolutely huge. The more MGs that Samalot can dismantle, the easier it's going to be for this Giga to get into a position and shut down these pitbulls, stopping from Surface from absolutely doing anything. And actually, you got to admit, I mean, this has been a pretty interesting game so far between two range units. Typically, these aren't great games, but this one, I got to say, pretty interesting because map position has been going back and forth between the two. And look at this, another ion cannon coming down. Oh, absolutely wrecking everything Samalot has. Wow, an absolute demolishment over there. And now Samalot looking pretty weak. He's not able to get onto the pad. Doesn't have a flying unit that he can throw onto that middle pad to get there. It doesn't matter because Surface had a pitbull ready to go on the far right, and there it is. Wow, insane. That was a nutty game of Rivals.
Yep, indeed. I think Surface was expecting that though, because the ion cannon, you know, he messed up a bunch of times, but that ion cannon was another out, and that saved him here again at the end. And I think what Samalot didn't notice is when you're playing against MG, of course not when you're playing against ion cannon, but against MG, you actually want more than one Giga. You just want, in the same way that Surface wants to double down to be more effective against Giga, Giga wants to double down to be more effective against MG. And then if you have like 2 or 3 Giga cannons sitting next to each other, a pitbull can't even come in for chip damage. You bring a little 10 cost blocker like Wheels, and then you're doing way more chip damage to the pitbull than it is doing to you. But then because of the ion cannon is there, he kind of couldn't do that. And MG being so cheap, and also because he didn't go no harv MG, that just gave him that extra out. It was a risky play, but yeah, it worked out. Surface knew what he was doing.
Yeah, I like, you look at that deck of his. I mean, it was bizarre. MGs with, like, it looked like a no harv deck, but he played it with the harvester because he brought ion cannon, right? And you know, not a terrible idea, I guess. Like, the no harv MG deck does play with no harv, so economy wise it's cheap. And so if you just add a harvester and just add ion cannon, I suppose that can work. And it did. Like you saw, he got 2 ion cannons out of it, and those ion cannons were pretty darn good. I mean, the fact that he could clear out the Giga was really good, but the fact, like, that second ion cannon that he had, where he just absolutely cleared everything, and then Samalot just couldn't respond in time. So he basically had all the tools he needed to win that game. And really the problem, though, I think Samalot just he needed something like Venom, right? Or Razorback, or just some air unit to get onto a pad. He had Phantom, but Phantom's not going to do anything. So, yeah, it's kind of too bad. He just didn't have the right tools available to him at the end of the game.
Yep. And it would have been fun to watch if Surface would have gone no harv, because then he would have had an easier first missile, but then Samalot could have doubled down on Gigas and then might have won.
Yep.
But
yeah,
probably too risky for him.
I'm really surprised by that deck that he brought. Like, I'm just surprised to see him play something like that. But it's like, I can understand the reason why you bring MG in a tournament. There are use cases for it. It's not a deck that is a complete meme. There really are matchups you wanted to have it in, and I'm just thinking, like, what was he expecting from Samalot to think that he could bring something like that? So I would love to hear from Surface what his thoughts are. But, well, speaking of that, we've got our players ready again, so we're ready to start game number 2. Are you ready, Entsorger?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. Game number 2 here on 3 lanes. And, all right, 2 more matches here. That's going to be great.
Surface is an audacious player, though, so you know, maybe he's taking some risks. and the sass, the early game sass. Okay, Samalot feels comfortable. His Giga, he's doing Giga now, but he's doing it with Venom. But he hasn't expected that Surface is going to switch up his game, and Surface has the Shade, which will very easily take care of the Giga, because we have no stank to quickly take it out, so that means he's relying on bikes and lasers, so I think Surface will probably win this one.
And I was going to say, you know, Samalot looks weak to lasers, right? Because he doesn't have riflemen, or militants, I should say. But the Chem Buggy can do a pretty good job, but Surface has no lasers, so it doesn't really matter. And well, wow, first Giga coming out at 40 seconds, very early, and it's actually in a pretty good spot, but it's going to take 2 full volleys from the attack bikes here, nearly taking it all the way down, but not quite. I think there's going to be enough time for the bikes to fire again, and there it is. Yep, first Giga down, and you know, for Samalot, that is a huge loss, because Surface now has a little bit of map positioning still, and the Giga just didn't really get a lot of value, so Samalot fell behind in economy at the same time, so pretty unfortunate, as Surface with his good map positioning and those bikes allowed him to get that Giga out of dodge real quick. So, having said that, Surface now coming on to this first missile. He's looking pretty good as he's got double bike on the middle pad, and Rifleman on the far left. That's it. There we go. Missile number 1 for Surface.
Yeah, that was a little bit too bold to bring a unprotected Giga once again up to the middle pad like that. I think he threw away his early game potential with that. Surface doesn't even need to go into air. Now he can do it second missile super comfortably. And he has no infantry. He hasn't even built a barracks yet. No infantry to defend. So Surface just flies around, you know, dances on up to there, toodles, and away goes the Giga.
Oh, the Shade clearing out that Giga. Samalot built it and then immediately had to chase it around the map as the Shade just on the field there meant that that Giga had no place to be, and he even boosted it as well. So he spent 110 Tiberium on that Giga, and Surface just snuck in from behind and popped it with that Shade. So big loss there for Samalot. He's going to have to find a way back into this as he's lost that first missile. I'm not sure what he's going to do. And now we see here Surface moving up. He's got that tank on the middle pad with the Venom. Tank Venom is actually a pretty legit combo. Those Venoms will beat up those lasers. And then, of course, he's going to have to deal with these Chem Buggies with the tank as well. And looking great here for Surface as he's on all 3 pads. The Shade clearing up the Chem Buggy, getting another volley against the bikes. Wow, even with 1 hit point, doesn't matter. The fact that it was fully reloaded meant that he was ready to deal with it, and that gives him the second missile.
Yeah, he kind of threw it, I think, with that first missile there. I mean, it's already tough enough to fight against the top player or one of the top players in this game, and then to make a big mistake like that, yeah, that was just too risky. It's the temptation to throw a powerful unit and then boost it maybe and push it up. It's just too high, and these players often make this rookie mistake where they forget the supporting units. We saw it with the Avatar, and then we saw it with the Giga, and yeah, it's too unforgiving.
Yeah, unforgiving is a really good word because sometimes, like, some decks are really punishing that way. Like, I think of, well, any deck with Solomon in it. I think of decks like, well, even Giga to some extent. Like, it can be punishing because, well, as we saw there, if you don't really protect your Giga very well, and even though, I mean, Giga's really strong, the truth is you have to play it right. It's not just as simple as you put it in your deck and then all of a sudden you're going to win. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to play those decks really well, and then if you don't play them well, you're just going to lose a lot. So, yeah, definitely a tough matchup there for him, and kind of unfortunate to see that. But, yeah, Surface is a very good player, too. So, like you said, going up against one of the best in the game, you know, it's a tough battle to win for sure. But, yeah, it's good to try anyways. I mean, Samalot's quite a talented player, as we saw.
I think a smaller, probably overlooked factor is also the approach. The fact that he went with the Giga over the top instead of under the bottom, you know, could have probably got the blocker. He already had units on the bottom pad, and those were there to help, but he sent the Giga alone, whereas he could have immediately used, while he was waiting for PopCap to come back online, to come for the reinforcements, he could have just used the bot pad as a blocker, but he didn't have that available to him because he decided to go lone wolf Giga out through the middle. And I think that was another little mistake.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, they're tough decks to use, and it's something you do have to spend time practicing and playing, and you know, and that, like, even for me, I played Giga a number of games, and I eventually started to get a little bit better with it, but it took a while. You know, like, I was kind of frustrating because it's like, this thing's just supposed to be stupid good. Like, how come it's so hard to make it work? But it depends on who you're playing against, depends on the maps and all that, but still, it's just something you do need to know in order to make it work. So, but yeah, that was a great series either way. I mean, always exciting to see some of the best in the game compete. I mean, wow, it really goes to show just what this game is made of. I mean, these games are always exciting and fun to watch, and that was no different. So it was really good stuff. But here we're going to be moving into our next match, and I've put Victor's name as Victor B. Unfortunately, his full name doesn't fit, so I've just changed it to Victor B. I think we know who that is, though. And he's going to be playing against Rob Sky, and I like the series because Victor is a really strong player, and I don't think he's been playing a lot lately, like not as much as he used to, but still, like Victor, even when he was playing regularly, like he was one of the best. And, you know, he played Inferno really well. Blade says all the time how Victor was one of the first people to figure out that with Inferno, you plant it with lasers, right? And that just comes from these players who are just so talented and so good at the game. I mean, you know, Serpus is another example. He comes up with these really unique decks and whatnot, so yeah, excited to see Victor again. And Rob Sky, I mean, I haven't seen him a whole heck of a lot, but still, you know, nice to see some names in here and get some good games in.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Speaking of which, they're here. We're ready.
All right, so let me switch over here and let's get game number 1 underway. All right. Okay, so here we go. Game number 1 featuring Rob Sky and Victor Bensimer. And all right, so it's going to be Jackson versus Oxanis. Who's commander fight?
1. New objective
All right, let's see
available.
what these decks have
Building
going.
online.
Ooh, Venom Inferno. A little unusual.
Unit
Usually it's,
ready.
you know, it's Shade that goes in that slot. And then we have, Jump Jets and Mohawk.
Unit ready.
Pitbull, of course, very good here, right? Pitbull just kind of deals with everything until we see Inferno. Stank, of course, can do some damage,
Unit ready.
but the fact that Stank doesn't finish an Inferno, a Pitbull anymore means there's always a
Unit lost.
tough follow-up by the
Unit
Pitbull.
ready.
So could go either way, but I think my money's gonna be on the GDI here.
Well, Rob Sky pulling out the jump jets a little bit early. He's gone into dogs. Of course, that is his opener unit. He doesn't have riflemen, so he's gone dogs and then immediately gone into his infantry. So trying to get some value out of these dogs and really trying to maintain these jump jets. As you see, just taking a little bit too much damage, already losing 2 models to those lone militants.
Yeah.
So jump jets just, you know, they're great, but they do cost a little bit and their hit points just aren't phenomenal. So yeah, a little bit of a liability there, and just not getting any value against the bikes here. Now Venom coming out from Victor. Nice tech switch from him is they will be able to deal with the shock. So this Pitbull here will clear it out, but Pitbull only fires 250 damage every, it's like 1.6 seconds. So, you know, it's not like a burst damage unit like attack bikes where it's going to clear it very quickly. Pitbull does take a bit of time to chew through that. So that Venom there got some decent value. And now this jump jet there, low hit points, going down, a big liability there as Victor now going to get ahead in the PopCap game, losing that Venom there, but all he has to do is block, and didn't even need to, as the Pitbull just wasn't going to wrap around, and well, this number 1 goes to Victor.
Received.
Yep. Don't really know what Rob Sky was thinking there. You know, jump jets the same cost as a Pitbull, and you often expect a chunky early game, right? Why would you build jump jets? If you would have had the Pitbull, it would have been dealing with the Venom that came out as well. But now he just has to commit to his Pitbulls, see the strength in them, and you know, with the Talon, he's in a good position to come back from this.
Talon is going to be his key unit here. Great tech switch to clear up these lasers, but also to push back this Inferno. And actually, gotta love Mohawk too. I mean, the Inferno can't shoot it. That said, Victor does have access to Stealth Tank, and Stealth Tank being able to one-shot the Mohawk could be a huge beating here for Rob Sky. Hasn't quite decided to go that route, though. He does have enough money to build it, but instead really focusing heavily on these lasers and bikes. And now, moving into the second missile, is Victor just going to close it out? We'll see. We got a Talon coming up on the far left to stall the missile. It is going to stall for a bit longer. Oh, almost a flip there with the Talon, but no. Goes back and forth as Victor comes out ahead, and he takes that 2-0 missiles.
Yeah, unfortunately, some questionable choices on Rob Sky's part, and fantastic micro on Victor's part, and that'll kind of do the match already.
I mean, he just played the
I
pads
think-
better at the end, right?
Yeah, but like he brought in, there was an Inferno flying around, and then he brought in Shocks when he already
Right.
had Dogs and Talon on the pad. He could have 2v1 that first laser squad that he was already working on, then built a Pitbull to support because the only thing left was bikes, and then those units would have pretty much taken care of everything on the field. But instead he builds Shocks, and then he sends them over the top instead of through the middle. Then he boosts the Talon, which was only on a sliver of HP left. There was a lot of maybe it was misclicks, you know, maybe he didn't realize he still had the boost button highlighted. That stuff happens sometimes. I don't know. Maybe it was some mistakes, maybe it was micro. But that the combination of all of those mistakes together, despite having a better deck against Victor, I think just wasn't enough for him to pull through.
Totally. And, you know, you could also see the practice from Victor, right? The fact that he, even, you know, he's in Diamond League right now, so clearly he's not playing as regularly as he used to, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you could see where that experience plays out. You know, like, he knew how to use that Inferno correctly and protect it. That was the other thing. Like, he was able to get it out of the way. He's able to make sure, like, even though there was a point there where Rob Sky tech switched into Talon. He built 2 Talons and a Mohawk. And the 2 Talons were on the middle part of the map, and they did a good job of pushing the Inferno back, but that's all they did. And then as soon as the Talons got cleared up, the Inferno was free to do whatever it wanted again. So, yeah, I have to think, like, a lot of it has to do with the matchup. I mean, Talon, Mohawk, just not going to, you know, work against Stealth Tank and Inferno. And in fact, Victor didn't even win with the Stealth Tank, right? I don't think we saw one of them come out, so he didn't even really need it. It was just bikes and lasers, so... just really good gameplay overall from Victor in that game. And yeah, obviously, Victor's still a very good player. No doubt there.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a tough thing to do, to recognize what your deck strength is versus that deck. You know, I think we've talked about that in tournaments before.
Oh,
Exactly.
Are we already off?
Yeah, sorry, I hit the space bar to hit start match. But all right, here we go, guys. Sorry about that. Game number 2 against Rob Sky and Victor Benspur. My apologies for the little awkwardness there, but here we are on Canal Row.
Unit ready.
Wow, okay. I love this map. This is one of my favorite maps. Everyone hates it. I love it. And Inferno is pretty good here. Imagine an Inferno shot where those riflemen are right now. It will just block everything from coming in. You know, no matter where the Inferno fires, top or in the middle, it'll just block ground from coming on. And Victor, knowing what he's doing with this deck, and obviously still very well practiced, I think he could do it. I think he's going to do it again. But Rob Sky might recognize his deck advantage this time. I don't know. Could go either way.
So Victor popping out with he's got early map position as he's got his militants farther up than Rob Sky here. Getting the lasers on the back pad as well. And now he's got the attack bikes with the riflemen up on that middle pad as well. So this is looking great. Victor is in good positioning. He's got his bikes already there. The missile's nearly charged. Like, timing here, this is looking exactly where he wants to be. But Rob Sky here, nice switch into these jump jets. He's moving the dogs back to stall the missile. Very smart play. But this chem buggy eventually, and a nice boost there too, is going to get to that pad. The jump jets just aren't going to be able to defend at all. And then the bikes are going to sit on the pad, and there it is, flipping back over to Victor, and that's going to give him first missile.
Yeah, Rob Sky was pop capped the entire time. Did you see that rifleman that just died? That's gonna do a little bit of damage. Yeah, he could have had a second unit on the where those jump jets were just now. If he would have, you know, came to back up the jump jets with a pit pull, that could have made the difference, and that could have been the missile. And now he's getting all this pressure going on the Harv. Maybe in return, maybe something will come out of it. But the fact that Victor switched Stank into a Phantom is going to really make it hard for him.
Yeah, and Phantom's a brilliant choice because the rocks and the lakes make it very hard for a stealth tank to get into position very quickly, whereas a boosted Phantom can get to the middle pad pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
So really smart. And look at this, the first Orca Bomber coming out, and Victor's got all the money he needs to respond to it, so that's exactly what we're going to see. Phantom coming out, and that Orca Bomber's just going to have a heck of a bad day. Is the Phantom now going to be able to chase it using his fastest movement speed? The Orca Bomber just a little bit slower, and now there it's gone. Really, really big economy advantage for Victor as he's got his Phantom fully healthy, and it's going to live to see another day.
Uh-oh, and now the Chuggy's going to clean up. Oh, maybe I'm wrong?
Oh, hold on a minute. The Harvester kill might be impactful. We've got this Orca Bomber trying to get there, but the Phantom is there to stop it. Pitbull going to try and make it onto the pad, but the lasers are going to stop that as well. It's really just a matter of time here. The Phantom is going to move over to the far left, clearing out the Talon, and going to move over to the pad actually and just hold it. But never mind. He's just going to clear out the Talon, hold that middle pad with double laser, and that's going to give him missile number 2.
Yeah. Chuggy Laser pretty much shuts down Rob Sky's entire deck, except for the Borka, and the fact that he was able to afford a Phantom means the Borka was shut down, and that was pretty much his only out. Yeah, and that's why the Reb Solomon deck, you know, which back in its day was very popular, probably almost as popular as the Suzaku APC, but it sees so much less play today simply because Chuggy is so powerful.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Chem Buggy is just really good. Having Raider on a unit that can drop clouds too, like it denies area, it does a ton of DPS, and it has Raider. And it doesn't even cost that much. I mean, 60 is expensive for its health, but like at the same time, for what you gain from that, it's a good deal. Chem Buggy is just so darn good. It's too good, really. I mean, It's kind of weird, right? Because Ken Buggy was never like this. It's actually been in this form, more or less, like in terms of its stats and its power, for pretty much the entire time, but it really hasn't become this way because of the meta. Like, tanks were around for so long, and when tanks are around, it's very hard for a Ken Buggy to do what it likes to do. But these days, I mean, it's not so much of a tank meta. Like, there's Inferno and Gigas flying around, and then the Ken Buggy just pairs up so well with what's currently busted that it's so effective. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of reasons to play Ken Buggy these days, for sure. All right, well, so that was an exciting conclusion to that series. Victor, still a very good player. Yeah, that was a very good series overall. And we're going to be moving on to our next one, but before we do that, we're going to be doing another participant giveaway. So we're going to do that first, and then we'll be jumping into our next match because we finished round 2, so we'll be moving on to the next round, and that's going to be great. Okay, so I'm just going to get the game set up while we're doing that, so we can get our players in, and then we'll get that underway.
Alrighty.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to all the folks here. So all of you for coming and viewing and being a part of the tournament, whether you're a player or a viewer. This is what makes this all work. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. We're hoping to do more of these. This is a low-key tournament for us. This isn't quite like our Ultimate Arena, for example, but none the same. I mean, you can see we've got our beautiful graphics here provided by Viper, and we're still getting support from our great staff like Pontiki and Kenny, and Entsorger's come out to help. So yeah, it's just a great team effort, really wonderful day, and hope you guys are enjoying it. All right, so without further ado, let's jump into our next participant giveaway. So, oh, hold on a minute. We'll hide it there and we'll reshuffle it. So, we have 2 more of these to do, and we are doing a viewer giveaway as well. So, if you're interested, type !join in the chat. That is for viewers only. This raffle here is for the players. So, that's what we're going to do next. All right, so without further ado, let's do it here. So, let's do the shuffle here. All right, refresh it. All right, and who's going to be our winner today? It is number 23. And who is that? Number 23 is Elijah. How about that, Elijah? You have 1 vanity. Got knocked out of the tournament, but don't worry. You've come away with something to shout about. So there you go. You've won a vanity item. Now, what you need to do is contact Pontiki. He is the one that is in charge of that, so reach out to him, and I believe you have to provide him with your in-game name, but he'll let you know what he needs. Either way, reach out to Pontiki, and if you're wondering who he is, he's the one who did the announcement for the tournament on the main Rivals Discord, so you can find him that way. But there we go. All right, congratulations, Elijah. Okay, so let's get the next one set up here.
We got 10 beers from an anonymous donor. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Wow, no, I did not see that. Thank you very much.
The Legion Fund. Thank you very much.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's exactly what we need to keep doing this. So, thank you. That means a lot. Great.
Yes, that's exactly what we need. Beer.
Yeah, no, 100%.
To keep doing this.
Well, I was more getting at, it's nice to do the monetary support, but hey, beer's great too,
Yeah, it's actually just the unit for the unit of measuring the amount of money donated in beers.
Right? Yeah, right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. All right, well, that was great. And like I said, guys, if for the viewers of today's tournament, if you're looking to win some vanity, we are doing our second and final viewer vanity giveaway right now. So type !join in the chat to get entered into that, and then you will be entered to win. So that's really great too. Okay, so then we are moving on to our final game. So we're in round number 3. Now, let me just go to the bracket, and we'll just give a quick update as to where we're at in the tournament. So, actually, I think these are the semis, I believe. Yeah, we are actually in the semifinals. So, here we go. So, we're down to 4 players, and it's going to be really exciting because we got Serpus, Popes, and then we got Victor Bansimer, and then somebody who hasn't been featured on stream yet, which is Guderian. All right, I'm excited for that. I actually don't know a lot about Guderian. Are you familiar with him, Entsorger?
Yes, I am. My Kraut history. Yeah, he's from Kraut.
Well,
a fellow German. Yes, and well, he runs one of the sub alliances, so we were never in the same alliance. But I do recall playing against him, especially in the previous seasons, like last year when there was a lot more hype and patches coming out. I did play against him a couple times, more than a couple times actually. And if my memory does not mistake me, I think he has gotten a fair bit better since then. So it could be a very worthy opponent. And Kenny's just telling me that Guderian beat Bia.
No way. Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, right. I was getting my thoughts mixed up there. Yes. Right. Right. Well, that's really interesting. Guderian beating Bia. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I wonder if Bia's starting to think like, am I like some sort of milestone in this game? Like, if somebody beats me, is that like a a notch in your belt sort of thing? It kind of is, right?
For sure.
Bia, you're like a gatekeeper now. I don't know how you feel about that, but there we are.
Guderian put the buy into Baya.
He did, didn't he? That's great. I love it. Oh, we have so much fun here, don't we? Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so I've just given the code out to our players. I completely forgot to do that, so then a little bit delayed, and that's my fault. I'm sure the players are going to be ready to go, though, and look at that. The professionals they are all ready to go. So let's move over to the game scene, and let's jump into this exciting next match in the semifinals. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Surface versus Popes. A real stalwart match here for you folks. We got Oksana versus Seth, and we're here on Caged. Very interesting.
Not a big fan of this map, but I think it's an interesting map. A lot can go on. The middle pad is very intense, and Surface has Shade, which is fairly decent on this map too. Lots of actually, the top and the middle to fly over to get through undetected. And Tank versus Shade, we know how that goes. So I think Popes is gonna have a hard time. He has to really pull off a lot with his stank to really make this work for him.
I mean, we've got Stealth Tank and Shade from Surface, right? So I guess the Shade is a decent tool to switch up from the Stealth Tank, but because Stealth Tank's going to suck versus the tanks, and the Shade might help out with that, but I fear it's probably just going to turn into a tank war, right? I mean, and then also, we got Venom versus Flames, so that's kind of interesting too. But yeah, I mean, here we go. We're coming into this first missile, and it's hard to say who's going to take it. Both players getting pretty good value against each other, and it's really turned into just a massive bike war. So Pope's throwing that single bike up there. We got Seth's drill pod coming down as well. Will Surface block it, and he decides to. Yep. Now with that mill pad secured as well. Oh, the Flames do make it on there. A slight miscalculation from Surface, as he didn't quite get it to block with those bikes. Very surprising misstep from him there. And now Pope's going to try and force his way back in. So the attack bike's moving down to the bottom. They are going to need another volley to clear that bottom pad, and he does need to get there, but unfortunately he targets the one moving to the right. Gets it. Surface gets a Venom, now dealing with the Flames, so starting to slowly look worse here for Popes as he does try to get back on, but never mind. He's got bikes on the top and the bottom pad, and I think it's going to be enough. All right, there it is. Popes coming back. Wow. Missile number one.
Seth. Yep, Seth can be powerful like that. I wasn't expecting him to get on the pad there. That was really lucky. That has to be a misplay by Surface. But the fact that they just held out for so long really gave him that missile right there. Suicidal
exactly.
Seth quad.
Yeah, it looked pretty good there. I mean, Popes is going to have a tough time, closing this out, though, because Surface, I mean, he's just a phenomenal player, and once Surface is able to get his tank micro online, it's quite possible that he just completely throws things around from here, but hard to say.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's going to have the money to go into air anytime soon. So I think he's going to keep it to a tank war, and then it just comes down to who has the better micro. But there's been so many misplays this game. Like, we just saw a boost on the Venom on Surface's part against the tank. And then now we have so much pop cap with singles bike squads all over the place.
No doubt, hey. I mean, when you get players like this together, when they're this good, misplays and all sorts of mistakes are bound to happen, as both of these players are really just throwing everything they've got into this game. And here, Popes now trying to secure that left pad with the drill pod, making a case for it. Does actually manage to get the Flames around. Surface not getting the block, but hold on, he gets the bikes on the far right. So one misplay deserves another, and there we go. Surface makes his way back in and takes missile number two.
Yeah. I think he knew he had that in the bag, so he was just very comfortable. Oh, you can get on the pad with the Seth. Waste your money on that drill pod. Just more food for me. That's what he was thinking to himself there. And now he has this massive map dominance, and the Harvester is not going to get another chance to harvest. He's sitting on 300 tip, and Popes is broke AF. I don't think there's no more coming back for Popes now. And Surface has Venom up his sleeve should he need, Shade should he need it. He could have won the tank war anyway, even without the money, even if he did have the money, and he just doesn't need it.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. He's pulled the Harvester all the way over to the far right of the map, and he really doesn't need the money at all. And he's done quite a good job of shutting Pope's game down because, like you said, losing that Harvester and then on top of that, Surface being so pushed up over the far right blocked him from harvesting. So very tough game here for Popes, and he's just not able to make his way back in. Like, look at this. He doesn't have any expensive answers he can get to. Surface has a lot of tanks and Venoms on the field, and we're going to see a bit of a stall here, actually. But never mind. Tank just gets there. Bikes don't block it, and Surface takes missile number 3 and the game.
Yeah. So I think Popes was kind of trading off a economy. He was trading his economy advantage in the tank war for a I win the first missile advantage with the Seths. He was trying to trade economy for missiles, and that just didn't pan out for him in the long run. You know,
Right.
like he even got on the pad the second time too. But because Surface was making the right trade, Surface was getting ahead in economy. And then he had all these little leftover bikes. There was also a lot of misclicks, a lot of the bikes actually going around the tank before actually firing when they first hit the tank. A lot of little mistakes like that, all adding up to this big, massive, gaping hole in his economy. And yeah, and then Surface just steamrolled him after that.
Yeah, steamrolled's a good term. I mean, not to mince words here, but like after that second missile, like Popes did such a great job of contesting the first missile. Like he did really well playing the pads and the Seth drill pod. I mean, there were some misplays involved though. You have to admit, Surface not getting the block with those bikes on the drill pod in the top left pad. Yeah, like you have to expect that. That's part of the reason that he was able to come back. But same thing with missile number 2. Like Popes, that was his missile to lose because the block with his bikes on the right pad allowed Surface to get back in. So it kind of went back and forth that way. But then once Surface started to get ahead, it was just a snowball effect. And especially once he got positioned towards the other side of the map and took out his Harvester, like it was very hard for him to really deal with it. So it was a very tough game, and it just kind of snowballed on him, which is too bad. But that's what happens when you play against somebody like Surface. He's going to take full advantage of any situation that he can, and this is a tournament, so all bars are off, right? Like he's going to bring out his best, and that's what we saw. So really good game from both. But I gotta say, you know what, Popes, he's got a way to come back into this. I think he can win this, but it's going to be tough.
That reminds me of I think it was in the Wolfpack tourney when Blade played against I don't remember who. And it was a tank mirror, and Blade's opponent opted for the boost, won that first missile, but then just fell back on economy, didn't have lasers as a cheap comeback mechanic, and then just and Blade snowballed from there. Can you remember that game?
Oh yeah, I know exactly which one you're talking about. Yeah, and he didn't realize that during the game too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was, and that realization by Blade was just utter genius.
Yeah,
and I think here it was not quite the same situation, but the economy effect unraveled in a very similar fashion.
Yeah, same outcome, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, let's see how Popes is going to respond to that. Is he going to take this back to game number 3? We're going to find out. Let's jump into game number 2. Here we go.
Establishing.
All right, Surface versus Popes, and Popes changing it up with Kane. And here on Caged In, you got to like to see Kane because there's some good places for it. But Surface ain't no slouch either. So let's check this one out.
Oh wow, yeah, Kane. I think Kane is absolutely fantastic here. Doesn't it cover like almost all of the hexes moving in if you put it right there in the middle?
I believe
Kane
so.
Could be really good here. But on the other hand, if Surface is fast on his toes, an ion cannon will destroy a Kane tower before the Kane tower can actually fire. If he does it as a... Yeah, I tested that. I wanted to be sure. And so if that happens, the commander's powers can just cancel each other out.
No kidding. Wow, that's interesting. Well, I guess we'll have to see if that takes place. And here we go. Coming into missile number 1. Surface so far has better positioning. He's got his dogs up front, but this tank here is doing a very good job, of course. With the only Pitbull to defend against it, it's not going to be too effective, so Pope's going to last pretty good long against these missiles here. Now moving the tank over, he's going to start to clear up these little dogs here, trying to get rid of them, but nice movement here from Surface, just blocking the flames. And oh, look at this dancing on the middle pad. Those missiles dancing for their life, and look at it. It worked out. Gives him missile number 1, and that's a very important missile indeed.
Yep. That is some very dirty dancing indeed. I
Yes.
kind of saw that coming because I knew I thought it was a mistake to leave the pad with the tank. You need that until you get your more hardcore, sustainable units as reinforcements, and that definitely played out for that. Especially with a blocker like Surface, and he can immediately replenish the back pad. He should have never left that tank. He should have just fought the lasers with tank and wheels.
So Serpa's really trying to get this MG online, and for the second time now, he's just planted it, and his blockers have gone down before the MG can get planted, so these flames have just been absolutely demolishing them. So very unfortunate for Serpa's, because that's what he wants. He wants that MG in place. I mean, all Popes has are ground-based units, so if he gets a couple of MGs in place, that's going to be game over. But that ain't the case today, and Pope's going to come back with missile number 2.
Yep, but at the same time, Surface here has been saving up bank, so he can definitely bring an ion cannon at the right time. A nice little dirty dance and an ion cannon shortly before the third missile, you know, he can definitely come back from this. We'll have to see what he does.
Serpa's pulling out the double Talon here. A bit of an unfortunate liability is the Stealth Tank immediately gained a lot of value, and now Serpa's getting another Talon out. The Stealth Tank's going to reload here in just a moment, a couple seconds. There it goes. Clearing one Talon, and now going to get the second one. There it goes. So lots of value here, but a little surprising is we see a second Stealth Tank come out. Popes does have lots of money, though, so I mean, even if he does lose the Stealth Tank, it's not going to completely throw him out of the game, but still, very interesting choice. And now we see him switch over to Flame and Stealth Tank, and that covers all ground, so it just might work out for him. But Surface, he doesn't look like he knows what to do here. But oh, hold on a minute. It might be what you were talking about, and doesn't quite get the full tower as he targeted the tile next to it, not getting the full damage on the middle hex. But still, it did manage to take down the majority of it. And however, doesn't matter though. Pope's got all 3 pads, and that's what really wins games, because there it is. Missile number 3 to Popes in the second game, and he has brought it to game number 3. Well done.
Wow, that was actually exciting. MG was not very useful. MG didn't really do much there, and then the struggle with to get down tier 2 infantry with Talon. That's always tough. And it looked like Surface was gonna make it because he just had so much map control. But then once the refresh, those new flamers came out, they just kind of cleaned up. And then, you know, the cane was for show.
A little bit, yeah.
To that extent, the iron cannon as well. Yeah, and it looks like it's not true what I said, but as you notice, it was the tile next to it. If you do it dead on, it does kill the cane tower.
Yeah, so actually you're right. Like it firing and dealing its damage occurred before the tower fired. So you're right, actually. What you said was correct.
It would have done it, yeah.
Yeah, if he had concentrated the ion cannon on the center of the tower, then yes, he would have cleared it. So that's interesting. I never thought about that. But if you're ever playing Kane and you're playing Ion or Solomon, there's a little tip for you. That's actually a really interesting thing to know.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, and so... oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so we did the viewer vanity giveaway, and I completely forgot to mention who won. And then after the person won, I went to say, keep typing the command to get in, but obviously it was closed by that point, so I apologize for the little mistake there. But we do have our second viewer vanity winner, and that is CFS77_123. Not the most eloquent name, but regardless, very exciting for you to win some vanity. So all you need to do is just reach out to our friend Pontiki, and he will be able to get that set up for you. So you'll need to provide him some information, I believe your in-game name and whatnot, but he'll tell you what he needs. So get a hold of him, and then we'll get that over to you. So that's great. Lovely to get that out of the way. All right, so I gotta say, man, I'm excited to go into game number 3 in this series, like especially against Surface. I don't know how you feel about tournaments, but sometimes it feels a little bit like when the best players get involved, like you just know how the tournament's gonna play out. So like to see this take place, for Surface to fall back a little bit, granted, I do think the deck has a little bit of a role to play in that. Yeah. Granted, I mean, it's just nice to see Popes take a game off of him. Because, you know what, even if Surface is playing a deck like that, it's clear, like, he's trying to play this deck to win. I mean, why wouldn't you? And Popes taking a game off of him, I mean, Surface is not, it's not like he's not trying. Like, you can tell, he's really putting in his best efforts. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's so nice to see that Popes is coming up ahead. And he's a really good player, too. Like, Popes is really solid, so love to see that.
Yeah. The thing is, Surface is taking some risks, I think. The fact that, you know, it's not coming down to him playing Alicia or someone like Agent or whatever, and so that is what is giving us these slightly unusual games where they can actually sway both ways. So thanks to him for experimenting a little bit, and
Yeah.
keeping it interesting.
I mean, I can see the idea behind the deck, like the Ion Cannon with the low cost, no harm MG deck. Well, it's not quite the no harm MG deck, but I get it. Like, I can see some of the wisdom in that. It may even be more effective than Reb Solomon, potentially. I don't know. But, yeah, it's kind of neat, though. I agree with you. It's nice to see the experimenting. That said, though, let's get into game number 3, guys, and let's finish off this exciting series. Here we go.
Establishing
All right,
battlefield
game
control.
number 3, Serpus versus Popes. Who's going to take it? Can Popes, the underdog in this series, take it? Or is Serpus just going to close it out and move on to the finals? Well, let's find out.
Okay, for a second there I thought, all right, enough shenanigans. This is a tournament after all. Once I saw Oksana, I was expecting Giga, but to my surprise, that is not the case. Talon is going to deal with the air fairly well. Predator is going to deal with the other 2 tanks. So Popes kind of has a bit of a map advantage here. Venom, while it does deal with shocks, it's just not great, right? Because the Pitbull micros alongside it, and then you take everything down. So Popes actually has a shot here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the fact that he's got Predator tank as well. The Predator will shut down the Scorpions and the Stealth tank. The Pitbull should shut down the Venoms. I mean, yeah, the fact that Serpus doesn't have lasers here could be a huge detriment. I just don't see how he overcomes the tank, you know? Besides Shade, obviously, but...
Right.
Well, here we go. I mean, Serpus is going to take this first missile most likely. He's got double bike on that middle pad. He's going to swap them onto that bottom pad, or at least try to take it, but doesn't matter. He's got both those 2 pads on the middle and the left, and that gives him missile number 1.
Yeah, there was some retargeting issues on Pope's side. He didn't quite retarget properly to take care of the bike squads effectively enough, and then kind of fell behind. He could have had that first missile, because as we know, Pitbulls do beat bikes.
It looks like we're about to enter into a bit of a tank war, and oh man, Serpus pulling up the aggression with the boosted tank, absolutely crushing that Predator tank. Oh man, is Scorpion tank the new Mammoth? I mean, geez, crushing these tanks. And now we got another Predator tank coming out. So Popes, this is a very ominous position for him right now, because Serpus so far is getting better value, getting 2 Scorpion tanks to Popes 1 Predator, and right now this ain't working for him, and it doesn't look like he's getting onto that path. So I think that's it. There it is.
Yeah.
Missile number 3,
Both
or 2,
players
game number 3.
not playing any missiles. That if you don't play missiles, you know, it's the Alicia strategy, right? Not playing missiles. It can work, and when it works, it's extra powerful because it kind of gives you a 7-card deck, right? But if it doesn't work, or if you fall behind, it's unforgiving, that word again, because you have to win those mirrors, you have to win those battles, because you don't have that catch-up mechanic. And the fact that Popes did that as well, I mean, Serpus can pull it off, but that was very risky on Pope's side, and we saw throughout the game that he wasn't retargeting the stronger bike squads to get ahead in those early games, and then he just fell behind and no catch-up mechanic, and it was a little bit too hard for him then.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point about not running lasers or missiles, and I think it's worse, probably, right, for the most part. Like, I think especially with Nod, I mean, there might be some cases where you want that extra deck slot, but I think Nod is good enough where you cover most of your ground, that you don't have to really play laserless decks that they could potentially be better. But I think on GDI's side, where GDI feels a bit weak, and having that extra slot means like you can put in a Talon or, you know, something that has a different unit role that will be more effective in different matchups, like Inferno, for example, or Giga. Because that's kind of the question, right, with GDI is, what are you worse to? And so if you can play GDI without missiles, then you free up a deck slot, and that gives you a bit more flexibility in your matchups. But it's so hard to play that way because your margin of error is so thin. You know, you fall behind, and that's it. You're done, right? So it makes it tough.
Yep. Exactly. And you know, even if you have deck advantage on Pope's side, GDI with Predator against tank, that doesn't mean it's an auto win. And if you
that's right.
If you have enough surviving units and you have some bikes supporting your Scorpion, you take down Predators too. So it's deck advantage is only one little thing that you need, together with a lot of other elements to take down these really strong players.
It helps a lot, though. I know in my experience, when I was like coaching with you and I was getting good, one of the things that I really learned early on was that deck advantage does play a lot, but you have to have the skill to go with it. Like, if you're so far outclassed that you bring the right deck, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you just play wrong, then you're just going to lose, right? But deck advantage can help a lot. So, but that said, speaking of our game here, let's get into the next one. So I'll update the scores in a moment, but we got our players ready to go, so I don't want to keep them waiting. But we're going to be featuring Victor Bansimer and Guderian. So like we were just talking about before in the bracket update, really exciting to see Guderian come in here because I haven't seen him play in a lot of tournaments, and you had a really great story about him, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I think we're ready to go. Did you need any more time, Entsorger?
No, I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's hit it. Here we go. And Victor versus Guderian's coming up next. And we've got Oksana versus Jackson.
Yeah, I think that big green number speaks for itself on his progress over these years. Rank 40, that's pretty good. Oh, and he's going to play MLRS, and we're going to have Shade. And now, this time, we have enough infantry in front of the sling to death stealth, but we're going to see a bike rush maybe gone wrong. We'll see.
Oh my, yeah, look at this. Guderian doesn't have enough money to get to that MLRS, but I believe with this nice blocking going on with these dogs, look at this, only allowing one attack bike to get at the Harvester. Very good, and now that's bought him enough time to get to this MLRS, but I have to admit, one MLRS against 3 attack bike squads? I don't know about this.
Oh yeah, probably not enough. Maybe if he retargets, we'll see.
Ooh, it's gonna go down now, I think. Yep, so that's pretty unfortunate because now the bikes are just going to take down the other Harvester. Yes, granted, Guderian has built a second Harv, but he could have waited. If he had just waited for that first one to go down, he could have just saved that money and then bought the second Harvester instead of now having to wait for a pop cap to free up. So that said, I mean, Victor now pushing him so far off the map. Guderian really trying hard to go into this double Harv plan. All that means is Victor's just going to comfortably take this missile. So there it is.
So we're clear that was probably a misclick, right? With the second Harv?
It must have been, yeah. It must have meant MLRS, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I think what he should have done there was just pull the Harv back and protect the MLRS a little bit. You're gonna lose the Harv, at least take care of the bikes. And not lose the MLRS as well. Because now he dug his own grave by building a second Harv on top of that. It's gonna look really bad.
The one thing I'm surprised by is why he didn't go jump jets in that situation. It costs the same, so wouldn't jump jets have just been better?
Yeah, but he already opened dogs.
Right, but he had enough money to build the barracks plus get a first set of jump jets, right?
Are you sure? I can't say for sure no. I would think no.
Well, either way, I mean, yeah, like you said, the MLRS just didn't work out, but wow, it really didn't work out because Guderian has surrendered, and Victor is going to take that first game. All right, well, that kind of ended anticlimactically, but, well, sometimes that's just the way she goes.
Building a second Harv instead of rebuilding your Harv is one of the most feels bad man mistakes in this game.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Like, I totally get that he got super demotivated at that point, and then just like, fuck this,
Especially in a tournament, especially here where you have to play your best, and then you make a huge error like that. I've experienced that myself, where I played against his name's Igor. He's a MNTR is his characters in game, and it was just like I made these really bad mistakes where I normally wouldn't, and it cost me the game. And it was just like I was just flustered at that time, and it was because part of it was like I'm in a tournament, I've got to play really well. All these things make it harder to play, and in a game like Rivals, where your mental acuity is actually quite important. I mean, you got to make on-the-fly decisions rapidly and constantly, and you have to make not just a lot of decisions, you got to make them right. So it's a tough game. So actually, I think for me, I know mental state plays a role, especially first thing in the morning. I do not touch Rivals, never. I'll wait until I'm fully awake, and at least had a coffee or something, because this game is tough. This game's really hard. But it's just how she goes sometimes.
Now in the post game in reflection, right, jump jets 40, barracks 30, 70, MLRS 70. He did have the money. You're right.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't add that up during the match, but I think though, and this sounds like a mistake that I would make even. When you open dogs and then you see a bike rush and you're the building that you already invested in that you have open, your tendency, your gut feeling is to defend with that already that unit that's already there. And then he was busy microing.
Yeah.
It probably just didn't occur to him in the heat of the moment. And if what a lot of people do when they come in with a bike rush like that is they'll bring in a chuggy to take care of it, because by then they've just about finished off your harvester, and then they have
Right.
the chuggy, and then you're completely shut down. Whereas if you manage to defend the bike rush with an MLRS, the threat is eliminated, and you know you have a stronger foothold in the game. Then you can just build 2 dogs to ward off the lasers that inevitably follow. But you know you're in a better position if you can defend with MLRS versus jump jets. Probably not
Yeah,
what he was
true.
thinking at that moment, but that it could have been, or it could have been just his habits hard to kick in the heat of the moment.
Totally. Yeah, and you know what? Like, the one thing you could see there at the beginning from Guderian was his micro on the dogs. You could tell, like, he's...
Yeah.
I mean, at the
Yeah,
beginning of
that
the
was
game, it's a lot
fantastic.
easier, but, like, yeah, like, he was doing a really good job, especially defending his harvester there, making sure that he wasn't getting a 2 or 3v1 on his harvester, and he managed to pull that off, and bought himself enough time to get the MLRS, but it just fell apart at that point. And I think part of the problem was he just had no blockers, right? Like, the MLRS just... It was left wide open, so the attack bikes had an easy opening to get it, and they took advantage of that. So really unfortunate. It was nice to see that micro at the baiting from Guderian, and I really feel like going into this next game, I hope he's just going to put aside that first one and say, you know what, let's just move on from that one. Let's just forget about it, because I think Guderian's got an inch in this game for sure, judging by what we saw there. So that said,
Yep.
why don't we jump into the game and just find out if that's the case? Here we go. All right, game number 2 in our next semifinal match. We got Victor again versus Guderian, and a little bit of a change up here we see, but maybe not from Guderian, but we do see Seth coming out here from Victor.
New objective.
Yeah, I sure hope you're right. And well, MLRS ain't that great on this map, because you can't really cover both tiles, right? The mid and the top one. You have to kind of decide. And then Shade, of course, being the Joker in Victor's deck. They're playing the same decks. Is it the same? Did he have Shadowrun last game? It ended so quickly.
Yes.
I wasn't sure.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So again, could probably play out that way. He's not gonna, and it's much harder to bike rush here because it's so easy to defend with all these little rocks in the way.
Yes, exactly. Like we saw there, the bikes tried to inch up against the Harvester, but it's not quite wide open like 3 lanes is. This is a bit different of a map on Tiberium Stripes, as we see this MLRS had a far easier time getting defense. And now Guderian's starting to play a little bit more of his game, as it looks like he likes to play Fortress GDI. And you know what? I mean, it can work. On a map like this, it's a little challenging because it's just where do you put it? Where do you put your fortress to make it effective? But, you know, I have to expect Guderian's very likely well-trained on most of the maps with this deck, because it seems like this is a deck he plays a lot of, as Victor has picked a deck very specific for it.
Yeah. Bit of nasty pop capping there where that dog kept it alive for longer than it had to, and that bought Victor a bunch of time to get out the Shade now.
Oh, here it comes. Shade getting a full volley on the MLRS. The slingshot coming in from behind, and the Shade's going to reload just in the nick of time, but he should be able to hold it behind the Shatterer there, and he's been able to do that. And now look at this Venom trying to get on the pad, just can't. Wow. Nice positioning on that slingshot there. Guderian makes him number 1.
Yeah. The slingshot positioning wasn't the MVP move. The move was moving the shocks to the back pad so that the Venom couldn't go out of range of the sling. That is what gave him the missile right there.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Otherwise, he would have to move the sling and wouldn't have gotten it down in time. And then holding it in the mid pad, Victor was trying to bait it. It worked out very well for him.
Oh, look at this. Shade nearly getting a full volley off on that slingshot, but Guderian, realizing what was about to happen, moves it out of the way. Victor now going into a second Shade, really just worried that this slingshot's going to completely shut down both Venoms and Shades, which he actually does need, because the Shade's an important tool against both the slingshot and the MLRS. So, going to be a very tough game here for Victor if that's not going to happen. And here we go. Look at this boosted slingshot. Almost! What an even trade. Wow, you never get to see that very often. Not really. But here, Victor going to move the Shade down to the bottom pad. This Venom actually is going to take that pad instead. Shade going to move up to the far right, and now it's going to be all 3 pads taken. So it's really just a matter of time now. But hold on a minute. No, the Venom cleared up the shocks. Shocks are going to move over there, but it's really about the time to kill now. The Shade clearing up the slingshot. Huge as well. And, well, there it is. Victor coming back. Losing this number 2.
Guderian kind of figured out the magic trick to winning this game, which is very simply shocks and slings. and he was ahead and it was working, but then he fell behind when he spread apart to go for those pads, and then he lost one of the slings. And now he's back for cash. What he needs to do is chill, sit back, afford a sling, afford shocks, and then just inch his way up from there. That's the only way he can come back from this. But with so many air units camping the spawn and no harvester, it's going to be near impossible.
Look at this absolute masterful aggression from Victor, just completely pushing Guderian back against a wall as these double Shade and Venom really just dealing with absolutely everything. And the real problem here is that Guderian builds a slingshot. Well, that Shade's going to be fully reloaded, and bam, it is gone. That said, and then also the flames here. I mean, we're seeing a bit of a Gold League strategy taking place here, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the extra aggression against the base, it's just nice to have that. And here another South Zero Pod come down. That is how much time has passed for that first South Zero Pod. It's been that long. So you see here, it's just really a matter of time. And yeah, there it is. First base kill of the tournament, too.
Yep. Yeah. It looked pretty good. You know, I had a lot of hope for Guderian, but the fact that he didn't double down on Sling when Victor was so heavily air invested, and, you know, maybe he realized that he could have won it with Shocks and Sling, maybe he didn't. Hard to say there, but falling behind in that, and then that's just a general thing, though. When Sling is your main or only anti-air unit, having a Shade ready to kill your spawn is just absolutely, you know, it's like a snowball effect. It's really hard to deal with that.
Totally. And you know, Victor clearly a very well-seasoned competitor, because that deck he brought was just a very clear answer to what Guderian brought. I mean, he played GDI Fortress, and it was very obvious that Victor knew that. I mean, he just brought the Shade to counter Slingshot, really. And yeah, it worked out very well. And even though in that second game, it really looked like, because we switched servers between the two games, nobody knows that, but we've been switching servers a little bit depending on the players. And in that second game, because we're switching back and forth, that second game was in Europe, so you might have seen Victor lagging a little bit there, but still, like, he still had such a strong deck advantage that it didn't really matter that much. He just had to make sure that the Shades were clearing out the slings, and then it was pretty much GG after that point. So yeah, that was just a very well played game overall. I mean, Guderian, a good player too. Like, you can tell, like, he knows how to play the game very well, but the deck really, really hurt him there. So kind of unfortunate to see that, but overall, it was a good series. It was really enjoyable.
I think he would have needed a little bit more prioritization on the Shades. It looked like he had the instinct to want to protect his Shocks, and then he would, or maybe he just let it happen and didn't micro it in time. But the Sling was going after Venoms when they very clearly should have been prioritizing the Shades. That would have definitely given him a little bit more leeway to get a foothold in that match.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that was the last semifinal match, guys. So you know what that means. We're moving into the finals. So we're inching towards the end of this tournament, and I just want to say again, thank you all for being here. It's been a wonderful time. We've been seeing some absolutely great games today. Holy crap. Like, the players have been bringing their A game today, because, man, it's been exciting. There's great games all around. I mean, there have been a couple of one-sided games, but not too many. Overall, the series have been just exciting to watch, so I hope you guys are enjoying it. And the finals are going to be featuring, well, you guessed it, Serpus versus Victor Bansimer. Who called that one, huh? But yeah, so what we're going to be doing, this is going to be interesting because, so the server is going to change between these two. Victor prefers North America, Serpus prefers EU, and that can play an important role in this because these two are good enough that any sort of sliver of difference could result in one person winning over the others. So yeah, this could be very interesting. And you have to think, Victor's probably the only guy here, or at least one of the only guys that we would expect to potentially win a series against Serpus. And so this couldn't be any better, I think. This is probably what we expect to see, is just bring the two best all the way to the end. And yeah, I love to see Victor in the finals again, too. So that's wonderful. Now, having said that, we do have to talk about a third place match. And I believe we are going to be doing a third place because in a single elimination tournament, you should. So that will probably be happening after this. But yeah, so we are going to get away under doing the finals here right away. Let me just get the game up. I should be doing that instead of talking here. All right, Serpus versus Victor. All right.
I have the feeling that the server selection plays a larger role than it did. Maybe EA has shut down one of the servers or is giving rivals a little bit less priority because I've noticed lag in my games recently. So having server advantage is another thing now to consider, to deck advantage and map advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly because it's like really where you're geographically located determines how good of a connection you have. But yeah, like that's just how it works. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. And you know what? One thing I want to say, and this is just a personal comment, is as I'm playing Rivals Team League, something people don't take advantage enough is server. So whenever I've had matches against people, they've often just told me to just host the games and like they don't even care what server it is. So of course I'm going to put it on North America and give myself a slight advantage. Like why wouldn't I do that? But I say that because if you're ever competing in a format like that, you should consider that. The server, I mean, having a little bit less lag makes all the difference, especially in a high intensity game like this. So yeah, so anyways, just a small tip for you. Server does make a difference, so you should be wise to that.
However, I just realized something. Doesn't make sense. So in the Joe interview, we were told that the game plays P2P with no intermediate server. But maybe that only applies for ladder and not for custom matches, and the person who actually hosts the custom match is the host. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because
yeah,
if it were actual P2P, that would mean both players suffer the same delay towards each other.
I think they do. I'm pretty sure that is the case, actually, because whenever I play against somebody and, you know, if we ever message each other after the game, I'm like, if it was laggy, I'll mention that. But usually when that's happened, they've said the same thing, like, yeah, it was laggy for me too. So maybe that is the case, but I think it does have something to do with like when you get the two individual players together, their individual connections determine like how good the games are actually going to play. Because I know when I'm playing against somebody on a different server, like you can immediately tell when your micro's a little bit like it's like you can tell your movements aren't quite as precise, and it feels like there's a bit of a delay in your movements. So yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how that works either, but I'd be interested to know. Maybe it would be nice to hear from Joe again. It's too bad that we lost that recording, but what can you do?
Yeah, I'll add it to my questions list should he ever pop up again.
Yeah, that would be great.
It keeps growing, that list.
All right, well, we are going to be moving on to the finals, folks. So here we are. We are at pretty much the end of the road. We're going to talk about doing a third place match. We'll see if the players want to do one. And if they do, of course, we will. So we get a few more games out of that. But either way, here we are. We got Victor versus Serpus here on Battlefield. And our first game is going to be featured on the EU servers. So that is Serpus's home advantage. And we'll see if that plays out. Well, shall we get underway, Entsorger?
We shall.
All right, let's do it. Here we go. The finals of the Legion Blitz Arena Tournament. We've made it all the way here, and now we get to feature Victor and Serpus, two of the best in the game. Here we go on Battlefield. It's going to be a great series.
Oh man, I was really hoping for tech. I thought Battlefield, is this the biggest map in the game? If not, probably amongst them, right?
Like most open area, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Amount of hexes on the
I think you're right.
Map. Yeah, it's absolutely huge. You know, next to Stonewall, lots of space to do stuff, and the harvesters are so secure in that sense because they have such a distance to travel. But what is this? Almost a Baya deck on the Serpus side? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, actually, this is, I think it is. I mean, it's a bit of a variant because Bial would play Rifleman.
Baya doesn't play dogs, he just plays Rifleman.
Yeah.
But then otherwise it's the same deck. Yeah.
That's right.
So we have a Baya deck with dogs versus Venom Inferno. Well, I think Serpus has the answers to it.
And so far, it looks like he does, as he's got the position on those two pads, and, well, very comfortably going to take that first missile. Now, of course, Serpus really easily taking that first missile doesn't really mean a whole lot. We're here against Victor Bansamer, and Victor Bansamer, I'm sure he's got an ace up his sleeve.
Yeah. I mean, I see Hammerheads killing Infernos, and Predators killing Stanks. And then what else is there? Throw in some shocks and some lasers. Serpus already has his ideal unit constellation. Like, what does Victor do right here?
That's a great question. I mean, we see the stealth thing coming out here, and of course he wants to get rid of the Hammerhead, because as soon as he gets rid of the Hammerhead, then he can build Inferno, and that's really what Victor wants. And because he hasn't been able to get there, and look, he does get it out, so he's decided to just get it out, and he's going to leave it against his Hammerhead, and you know what? That might be the right thing to do, but the stealth tank unloaded onto a tank, so he's not able to get their Hammerhead, but that was still a very nice bomb, getting the double there, as that might be enough for him to gain enough value to come back. That said, though, this Venom can't get onto that bottom pad. He has managed to take the top pad, and this is exactly what he wants to do. Just secure that top part of the map for now, and then slowly start to take back the second part. Now, he is going to have a hard time defending with that stealth tank, but he is on the bottom pad. Can he stop the fight with the tank? But no, the tank now getting in the position. That means Surface takes missile number 2. Oof.
Yeah, that was just a pickle. He needs a stank to kill the Hammerhead, and he needs an Inferno to kill the Predator. He just the both counters were already on the field, already had the map control. He was fighting an uphill battle the entire time.
Yeah, completely right.
Yeah, that's just.
Oh.
It's like almost a perfect counter deck. Who would have guessed the BR deck being the perfect counter deck of all decks? No offense to my man BR, but that just played out like, you know, even without the advantage, Surface is a great player. He doesn't need that advantage, but he had it completely, and he was, you know, almost unchallenged there.
Like, it really was the Hammerhead, I think, was the turning point there. Like, because you could tell that Victor was ready to pop out that Inferno. There was a tank, there were a couple of sets of shocks on the field. Like, it was like prime Inferno feeding season, right? And so, but then when the Hammerhead showed up, he was like, oh crap, come on now, really? Like, so then of course he built the stealth tank, but it's so hard to get a stealth tank against something. Well, the Hammerhead's got fastest movement speed, just like the stealth tank does, so that's one thing. But the second thing is, this is Surface we're talking about, so of course Surface is going to defend his units. Of course he's going to back them off. Of course he's going to, you know, stop that stealth tank from getting at their Hammerhead. And the problem was, Victor was at a point where he was like, I have to do something. Like, if I don't build this Inferno now, it's not going to be ready in time. So he built it, but then lost it. And he did get that nice bomb, but he didn't take care of the Hammerhead, and the Hammerhead was left sticking around afterwards, and I have to think that was a big reason why it didn't work out for him. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a one-sided game in some ways, but I mean, Surface just played that deck very well.
Yep. He did have some good plays, the double kill. At one point, he had the lasers on the top pad surrounded by 2 Pitbulls and a Predator, and he immediately boosted because they were all out of position, all surrounding the laser squad, and that was great. But you can just see that all of those plays don't even get you anywhere. That just shows you how behind you are in deck.
Yeah.
That, you know, you can't even
For
overcome
sure.
it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is that this is a best of 5. So this is not a best of 3 like the rest of the tournament has been. This is 5 games. So especially when you get these guys together, I mean, it's very likely that we're going to see 4, maybe 5 games. So yeah, no, that first game being a loss is not that big of a deal. Certainly Victor needs to adjust his game plan. I don't know what he does though. I mean, Surface is such a tough guy to beat. He plays so many different decks, and he's just so well practiced with them, and then he also knows his opponents really well. Like, these two probably know each other. That said, though, I mean, Victor hasn't been playing on ladder a whole lot, so, or lately, I mean, so maybe not. Maybe Victor's got something else up his sleeve, but, well, I think our players are ready to go, so why don't we find out?
All
right, here we go. Game number 2 of our finals. We got Victor versus Surface again, and we are here on Eruption, so a bit of a different map, and Surface has decided to change over to Solomon.
New objective available.
Okay, so we're gonna see what it's the same deck, and Victor decided to go with Giga. And what besides that, any other differences? Nope, I think that's about it.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but you know, Surface being Surface, a proper ion cannon will clear a Giga, but it falls behind on economy if he doesn't make it effective. Surface can definitely do it, but we have to see. Victor is also good. If he spreads his unit fast enough, he might be able to replenish a Giga, and especially with boost, you know, it can come in post Iron Cannon and make a difference.
Totally. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the Giga getting in position first is so crucial to this matchup. But then Surface has Ion Cannon if he ends up falling behind and losing map position, so he's got a way back. So this is definitely going to be a pretty interesting match. And Victor is a good Giga player. Like, he knows what he's doing there. And that is something you do need to know what you're doing with. So very excited to see that. Well, and see, look at this. First Giga coming out, getting the boost as well. Serpa's not able to defend against it. He had to pull back. So he's going to try and use these shocks, but all it's going to do is let this Giga fully charge up. Now, that said, he does need to get on the pad. So that little bite there is a bit of a liability because he can just pop it off while letting the Giga charge and then back off and then stall the missile a little bit longer. But so far, it looks like he's going to push and get this Giga. Oh, there it goes. Giga gone and down. That is going to give Serpus that missile. Wow.
Yep.
Oof.
Very well played there by Serpus. Victor didn't quite have the pop cap time. He needed to ramp up his pop cap, his army a little bit more to get blockers out and not get overwhelmed like Serpus did right there.
Yeah, like he popped that Giga and then he stopped it there, which is great, except I mean, it was towards the end of a missile. Like, it was almost like he was between a rock and a hard place. Like, what do? Do you just pull the Giga back and survive it and just, you know, forfeit the missile? And probably that's likely what he should have done. But, oh, look at this. As we were just talking about, Ion Cannon coming down, but really nice movement from Victor where he actually moved all 3 units that were surrounding it out of the way, nearly surviving them, but actually didn't really get a lot of value. And this just gave Serpus a huge map advantage. And look at this. Sir Victor trying to make it back in. We got a Venom coming onto that middle pad. Shock's nearly making it there, but nice block. Really good movement there. And this Pitbull coming in from behind. Venom not able to stop it from getting there. These dogs on the far right, also a bit of a liability if Victor can get a unit over there, but not looking like that's going to be the case. And now he's got the Miltons there, so that's great. But Predator does manage to get on that far left pad, and that's going to be it. And an Ion Cannon for style points gives it the victory. Wow. Jeez.
Yeah. So, when you play this very overpowered glass cannon, and you have limited resources in the early game, and you rely on the Giga to pretty much carry you through the early game, he used that boost very early on. I think the key factor, the key moment in that game where it went downhill for Victor was not being in the correct position. He was 1 tile 2 away to cover that pad when he first boosted. And so all Serpus did was chill, fall back with his Predator, wait for the boost to finish, and then he moved back in. And then he didn't have the units and the boost when he needed it, and that's why Serpus could overwhelm him. And after that, when you have such massive map control and you become so oppressive, you know, Giga needs some leeway to get out and get into its core position, and that was just never the case there, especially with an Ion Cannon to back it up.
Isn't it amazing how bad Giga's looked in this tournament? Like, legitimately, it's looked so bad. Like, it's fallen on its face multiple times now, and I mean, we know that the reason why that has nothing to do with the unit itself, but it's the way you play it, and that's so important. Like, Serpus, he had a deck that was very weak to Giga, but Victor had to make sure that he got it in place, and he kind of did early on, but then it was the missile timing. Like, it was just a really bad situation, kind of unlucky in some ways. Not really, because it's deterministic, but still, like, the timing and how everything was unfolding for that first missile really kind of dictated the rest of the game, because once he was not in position to get that Giga set up again, Serpus just took full advantage of it, and he's going to do that every single time. So yeah, it was a tough game.
You can't expect to play this OP unit that everyone plays on ladder and then bring it to a tournament, because that's where it separates the men from the boys. That's when you need stellar moves, the appropriate boost timings, blockers, etc. You can't have any weakness, because if you have a weakness and you have a glass cannon as your win condition, it's not that hard for these top players to just throw a rock against it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, this is potentially match point as we're moving into our game number 3, and Serpus is up 2-0 against Victor. So Victor is still looking for that first win. Again, though, this is a best of 5, so this is why we're going into this game 3, and Serpus hasn't taken it. So Victor's still got a chance. I mean, he could win the next 3 and take it. Could be a reverse sweep. We've seen it happen before, but let's see if that's going to be the case today. Let's jump into it. Here we go. Game number 3 underway of our finals, and it's going to be Ion Cannon versus Jackson's Boost. All right.
3,
Yeah.
2,
No more Giga. We went from Giga Chad to Giga Bad. So even though
Right.
this is a good map for it here, both players have decided to not bring it. Serp is still playing Iron Cannon just in case, you know, you never know. So it's a good good idea on his side. It's safe, but I think it's gonna fall behind because unless he gets value out of it, Victor can probably get ahead with the boosts. And not having much to stop the air, I think it could work. I think it could work for Victor. Only if the Iron Cannons don't pan out. That's my bet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the real problem I see is Orca is his main tool to deal with the Predator tank. And of course, it doesn't one-shot the Predator. The Predator will survive with about 900 hit points afterwards, which is still a significant amount. And then I guess it depends on if Surface gets to his Hammerhead soon. So we'll see if that comes to be. Victor here getting that Orca out on the middle pad, clearing up the dogs. That lone dog is just going to sit there. But a Hammerhead's already popped out from Surface. I mean, he's decided to just forego going into inventory. Does get the missiles on there, though. It looks like Victor's going to take this missile now. He just needs to get the Orca over there, but it's so close. Hammerhead does survive and manage to pull back. He does just need to clear this dog and take that top hex, though, and it looks like he's going to get there. But, oh my gosh, this is absolutely great micro from Surface, making sure the dogs were in position to quickly take that hex as those dogs got cleared up. Meant that he's still stalling this missile, and Victor here is going to try and now take that left pad. The Hammerhead is actually a bit of a liability at this point, but never mind. Oh, what great micro on that middle pad with the shots. Oh, man, so close, so close.
Yeah, I think he set himself up for failure a little bit there by going Orca so soon when all there was on the map were dogs, which he could have easily handled with Pitbull or Missile Troopers. And now he has this Hammerhead, which he kind of wants to delay, you know, should he have known that it was in the deck. But that Hammerhead coming out early means that Victor is not making any more Orcas. And now, if the Predator comes out, he'll be completely shut down.
This is not looking good for Victor as he's pushed back. He's lost that first missile, and already Surface coming out ahead on the shock war. We got double dogs dealing with the shocks in the middle, though, and slowly starting to turn the tides in that sense. But this Hammerhead completely shutting down Talons and Orcas from Victor is being a huge beating because these Predator tanks are just living to see another day. There's no way they're going down anytime soon because there just ain't anything out there that's going to deal with it relatively quickly. So Surface and this Hammerhead are just looking pretty good. Now, this middle pad here with the Predator tank, we got a double one coming up. The shocks are going to live for a long time. So Victor might actually just be able to sneak a missile here if he takes that left pad. There we go. The Pitbull's going to survive against the Hammerhead, of course, but it's going to stall for a bit. And that Hammerhead has so many hit points that... But wait a minute. No, the shocks won on the left pad. So there we go.
Fantastic play.
Really brilliant play.
Yeah, he did what Better Way was, I think, trying to do in that other match, making it an infantry war, and then just getting ahead of that infantry war. You know?
Yes,
this is what he's doing. Like, because when it comes down to it, if they're gonna fight infantry, it's gonna be shocks versus shocks and dogs. And Victor's just the first one there to beat him to it, and then so Surface on his back foot having to fight that is either lose to being behind or have a good Iron Cannon.
Now look at this Hammerhead surviving for as long as it has. I'm pretty sure it's going to need maintenance on its rotors here because, geez, it's been around for such a long time. But yeah, like you said, I mean, Victor's slowly starting to overcome the infantry war. Now he is starting to lose it here as he didn't have defender's advantage on those shocks that pushed up, and he's almost got 2v1, but beautiful play there, putting the missiles on that bottom hex. Really, really brilliant stuff, and boosting the shocks. Oh man, this is the stuff you'll love to see. But here we go. Can he get those dogs onto that hex there? No, it doesn't. Surface was able to get the block instead, and that is absolutely huge. Another Hammerhead coming up from behind. The Orca can't do anything, but it's just going to stall for a little bit longer. This Pitbull making its way around the left pad, or the right pad. It is going to give Surface that pad and the missile as well. Wow! What a game!
Oh man, he almost had it. Like, why did he stop making shocks? You know, like the Hammerhead became pop cap for Surface. He was already ahead, had the pop cap. He could have easily won that.
That was Victor's best game in this series, and it was the closest one by far. Oh, man, was he close.
Yeah, he really was.
I mean, obviously, like, Surface is good, and he deserves the win. We just love to see it when somebody else wins a tournament for a change, especially a guy like Victor, because I don't even know if I think he has won a tournament before, but I'm not sure. Either way, I mean, you can tell, like, what kind of players these guys are. I mean, that missile movement to block the 2v1, like, how fast that was. I mean... We're talking about a matter of milliseconds here. Like, these guys were just going back and forth like that. Oh, what an amazing game. Absolutely amazing. Really loved it. And, well, there it is. Surface is our victor for... wow, I can't believe I just said that. Okay, Surface is our winner for today. He's not Victor, obviously. That's another guy.
He's the victor over Victor. Oh.
Oh, that's terrible. Okay, so Surface is your winner for today. He has won the Blitz tournament, so congratulations to Surface. Oh, wow, that was a really phenomenal tournament, and really great games all the way through. Now, we're not done yet, guys. We do still have 2 more things to cover off. One is we have to do the 3rd place match. The second thing is we have another participant vanity giveaway to do. So we're gonna get those things done. So don't leave just yet. We're not quite done yet. We're gonna get those things done here right away. All right, so let's get the next game up. So the 3rd place match is going to be played between Popes and Guderian. So going to be some more great Rivals action here for you. And all right, let's just get that up and running. All right, so Guderian, and then while we're doing this, we're going to do the last participant vanity draw. So we'll get that done as well. We'll do the 3rd place match, and then we'll be done for the day. All right, so let's do that giveaway. Here we go. And alrighty, so this is for the participants. This is for the players in today's tournament. So that is why we have a RNG generator here. So without further ado, let's just roll it here a couple times. All right, here we go. And who's our winner? Who is it gonna be? It is number 11. And number 11, who is that? Let's find out. All right, number 11 is... Dun, da, da, da. It is Guderian! Hey, look at that! Guderian coming out with a vanity prize. All right, congratulations, Guderian. You have won our last participant vanity giveaway. It is all yours. So reach out to Pontiki. He will take care of you as before. Just let him know about your in-game username, and he'll tell you what other information he needs, but he'll get that vanity prize over to you. So reach out to him, and if you're wondering where to find him, he is on the main Discord. He's the one who made the announcement for this tournament. So there we go, folks. We've done all of our vanity giveaways, so if that's all you're here for, I guess you can go now. No, just kidding. Come and stick around for this last game, because let me tell you, she's going to be a good one. All right, well, let me get it set up, and, well, Entsorger, why don't you share your thoughts on the series?
I think if you just won Vanity, you're feeling pretty good.
Right?
So that means Guderian will be coming with wrath to win this 3rd place match.
Absolutely.
I can see it happening. And the Germans are all amped up at the moment now anyway over the German national team thing, you know.
Right.
the big scuffle going on right now. So everyone's really rife with competition and competitive spirit. That's going to give Guderian the edge.
I agree. I think Guderian's looking for blood here. I mean, he probably felt that that wasn't his best showing against Victor. I think it was a good showing. I mean, the deck, like I said, I think held him back there. But, hey, you know, we'll see what he can make out of this match, because here we're up against Popes. You know, and Popes is actually quite a talented player. I mean, it's like, do you take Victor or do you take Popes? I think they're both pretty tough. So,
yeah,
but I agree with you. Yeah. All right.
One of those sneaky Harv pulls from Popes.
Could be what we need.
Guderian might be going down the drain.
All right, just bear with me here. I'm just getting the game set up. And, okay, so, yeah, this will be the last match for today, guys. So, I just want to give a quick shout-out to all the people that have been helping with making this possible. So, Kenny, who's been helping with moderating. He's also been doing the great predictions that you guys have been doing. Pontiki for helping out behind the scenes. He's been running the Legion bot. He's been helping with getting the players together. He's been telling us who to get featured and all that. So, he's been helping a lot with the administrative in the background. And a big thank you to Entsorger, my co-caster here, who's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting today, making sure my voice doesn't crack at the end of this tournament. So I much appreciate that, and it's been wonderful to have you here. So just a really wonderful team effort today, and like I say, I hope you guys are enjoying this, because yeah, there will be more to come for sure. But I think we're ready to get into our first game of our 3rd place match. So if you're ready, Entsorger, let's get it underway.
Hit it.
All right, here we go. So this is our 3rd place match. So this will determine who finishes 3rd and 4th, and it's going to be between Guderian and Popes here on Cajun.
New objective.
Good old Cajun. Sniper's great. MLRS great. Drones and Orca kind of being shut out by Sling. Yeah, I think Guderian has the deck advantage here.
Unit
The one
ready.
thing is
But,
it's Orca against Sling, right?
Yeah, but it is Iron Cannon against MLRS.
That's a
And
good
while
point.
that I don't think that quite balances out the other disparity. So I'm gonna go with Guderian just because Iron Cannon is too expensive. That indirect nerf through the economy once again. You just don't get out as much Iron Cannons like you used to.
Well, and he's running snipers plus jump jets, has no missiles, no riflemen, so it's a very expensive deck. And then also, he might have to rely on building a ton of Orcas to shut down the slingshots and MLRSs. So I agree. I actually don't think he'll ever get to an Ion Cannon unless he just stops playing the game. So, which maybe that'll happen. I don't know.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
Yeah, he has to focus the Shatterer here, or he's not gonna get through to the MLRS.
Unit
Ooh,
lost.
nice attrition push there as he moved both the jump jets and the Pitbull in at the same time. And not only that, but he took the shots on the jump jet from the MLRS, so the Pitbull gets to live another day, which allowed him to push back the Shatterer. And this is exactly why he's got this middle pad now. So really smart play from Popes there. And that gives him missile number 1.
Yeah,
Major structural
that
damage.
was. I mean, despite Pope's play, yeah, they got through. He has to double down. He has to not lose that Shatterer front. Maybe throw in some dogs. He has to protect the MLRS better than that, or he'll just never get in. And then once you fall back and you lose map position, that makes it extra hard for MLRS.
Yeah.
So being a little bit of a head map control against MLRS is huge.
Well, and look at this. I mean, so far nobody really has control of the map, but this Orca is just free to chase the Shatterer. I mean, the Slingshot sitting back at the base is like, hey, come on, put me in action, buddy. But there we go. Now he's getting in there. And but the Orca, like I said, being in that position allows it to take care of that Shatterer. So a bit of a loss there. And one of the problems with Guderian's strategy, being a Fortress deck, is that they're all specialists pretty much. Actually, yes, all of them are specialists. So when you lose a key part of your component, that means that you're all of a sudden weak to something. So here we go. Can he make a comeback? An Ion Cannon coming down. Snipers move back onto the pad, and well, the Iron Cannon was just a little bit gratuitous because I don't think he really needed it. Either way, Pope played the pads really well and takes missile number 2 and game number 1.
Well, I'm not on. My predictions are not that great today. These players are surprising me more than I would expect.
I mean, that's just Rivals, man. It's a caster's curse. You try to like look at the decks and you're like, yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out, but then the players just do something different. Oh, that's just classic Rivals.
Yeah, the fact that he got through that MLRS like that, although he lost the first one, I didn't think it was happening because, you know, he first targeted the MLRS and died to the sling. The jump jets died to the sling, but then, you know, he eventually cracked through, and Guderian didn't quite recognize that that mass jump jets is his Achilles heel there at that point, and so he couldn't defend it in time, and then he lost his foothold, and then that was that.
Yeah, that's the problem with decks like that is once you lose, like, so he needed to get all 3 parts of his strategy online. He wants the MLRS, he wants the Shatter, and he wants the Slingshot, and then he's going to try and defend it using other units, but it's exactly as you said. Like, as soon as he lost one part of that, like the MLRS at the start there, or the Shatterer to the Orca when the Ion Cannon went off and cleared the map. You know, there was just parts there where Popes really split up his units, and that's not a deck you can play split apart. You have to play it together. That's the only way you can play it. So, yeah, so I guess we'll see. I mean, we're moving on to Broken Mesa here. This is quite a bit of a different map. I mean, I think Fortress-wise, this map is worse than Caged In, but I think all that Guderian really could do is he could try to secure, like, maybe the top part of the pad area and try to contest the middle pad and part of the top pad or the bottom. I guess that's maybe all he can do here, but I feel like this has got to be worse for him for his deck, right?
Yeah. And it seems to me like Guderian has his comfort deck and isn't willing to sway from it, which will give Popes a huge advantage as he recognizes that and as the maps change. So if Guderian doesn't change here and he doesn't play the MLRS in that position, as you say, he could be could be in really bad shape here.
Totally. Well, let's find out if that's the case. Here we go. All right, game number 2 of our 3rd place match, and Popes switching over to Kane. Very interesting. And Guderian switching over to Nod. Also very interesting. Let's have a look.
All right, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad that they both feel comfortable to switch things up. That'll make it interesting. Venom against Mutant and Tank on Guderian's side. This could be interesting. I'm gonna refrain from a prediction this time, seeing as I've been wrong so many times. I'll let them surprise me. What do you think? What is your prediction for this one?
I mean, the biggest unit, the one to look for is Venom on Pope's side. The tower is really important for the Chem Buggy, but the Venom is extremely important to break up the flames, because that's what it's going to come down to, is a flame war. And the wheels can kind of do that, but the Venom does a better job. So I think the Venom doing that, and then the Chem Buggy, that's another thing, right? The Chem Buggy can shut down the flames, and then he gets his mutants in place. The tanks don't do anything. And maybe if the tower shuts down the Chem Buggy, then maybe there's a way for the mutants to get shut down by the Venom. It's kind of hard to say. I think Guderian has the advantage.
Rock, paper, scissors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. A lot of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can Pope just take this missile here? It's going to flip back and forth a little bit. We see the bikes from Guderian move down to the bottom, but he's not going to be able to... Can he get to that top pad in time? It doesn't really matter, actually. Just moved off the pad completely. So Guderian having the bottom pad secured meant that he had 2 out of 3, and that gives him missile number 1.
Yeah, and we must remember that these players don't know what is in the opposing decks. So
Right.
They might not recognize what kind of, if it should turn into a flame war or whatever. So they're just kind of constantly bringing the rock to the scissors as this match unfolds.
That's right. Yeah, they're just feeling each other out right now, you know. And now the mutants coming out here from Guderian has obviously changed things up a little bit, because Popes is like, oh, you're playing mutants. So, well, that changes things a little bit. And look at this. Guderian getting the defender's advantage on those flames, but also boosting them, maintaining a lot of value. And this is going to be extremely important, because Popes is going to be forced to tech switch into something else. And if he can get more value out of his flames, then Guderian's going to be well ahead. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. So far, Pope, I mean, he's really trying to push onto this middle pad, and he is just trying so hard. But it looks like he's actually managed to make it there, as those flames are now going to go down, and the remaining flames are going to go through the mutants. But the boosted Chem Buggy coming in from behind, and these flames are going to likely go down, but never mind. A little bit of a misplay there, as the flames on the bottom hex were able to survive a little bit longer, and that allows Pope to open up and try and take down this Chem Buggy. It looks like they're both going to go down now, and very unfortunate. Those mutants going down means the flames are going to be okay, and the tank's just going to chase back the Chem Buggy, and that is Pope's missile number 2.
Yeah, I bet Popes did not expect, after what seemed to be turning into a flame war, a sudden chuggy. But the fact that he also has tank in his arsenal means that he was just able to, you know, suppress him out of it, and then now gaining that map control.
Exactly. Yeah, like, you know, it's interesting, because this kind of talks about how the meta used to be a couple of years ago, where it was a lot of flames. And this is kind of how games went. Like, if you won the infantry war, you were so much further ahead, because your combined arms unit then becomes way better. And as soon as that happens, you've got a rock against scissors. So then you're just way better in terms of positioning. But, I mean, look at this. All right, Kane Tower coming down. Can this be enough? Well, there's no real good targets for it, although it has been buffed against squad, so of course it's going to be amazing for that. But here we go. This tank on the middle pad, all it needs to do is just hang on for a little bit longer, and there it is. Well, Popes takes it down. 3 missiles, and there it is. Game number 3. Or no, sorry, game number 2, and he is your 3rd place winner. So, wow, that was a very good series, but too bad it ended so quickly.
Yeah, got a little one-sided very quickly there, which was surprising, considering that there were so many ways that could have gone.
Totally, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of ways that could have went. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to really determine like who had the advantage. Like I said, I think Guderian had the better deck, or at least I feel like he had more tools available to him that would counter Pope's deck, right?
Exactly.
But once Pope started to turn around the Flame War, and really that second missile I think is really important to point out, because the Chem Buggy came out, and you could tell that Guderian was having trouble, because like he was really trying to get the favorable matchups. Like he wanted the, like especially in that when the mutants were on the middle hex on the middle pad, and then the flames, there were 2 flames on the left and the bottom hex. The Chem Buggy was coming up from behind. Like he should have moved the Chem Buggy in front of the mutants instead of moving the mutants in front. And there was just some other things like that in terms of positioning that I felt like that Guderian could have done better to potentially overcome that. But Pope's, he just had to win the infantry war. I mean, the Chem Buggies got shut down by the tanks effectively, so the rest was, well, that was it. You know, that was all he needed to do. So it was a very well played game, though.
I think Guderian didn't quite realize the potential that he had in his deck. Like, if he would have baited, or if he would have created a stronger flame war, if he would have gotten his opponent to overcommit to flames, so just make flames, and then Popes is like, okay, I have to counter this. I only have flames, so I'm gonna make flames. And then when you overcommit to flames, then you come in with the Chucky and you just clean up. The fact that you have that super powerful tech switch that he's not expecting. If you're already playing flamers, who you never expect another Chuggy on top, right? That's
Totally.
such an unusual deck choice, and he could have played that to his advantage, but it didn't go used in that game. It went unused, and so yeah, that's a shame.
Totally. Yeah, that's exactly it, right? It's just amazing how little it takes to decide these games. I mean, just about every game we saw today was like that. Very close. So I gotta say, I'm really impressed with how great the games were today. Just super high caliber games from everybody. It doesn't matter if you were Surface or, if you felt like you were at the bottom. Maybe that was Elijah, I don't know, being a Bronze 3 player. But even then, these guys brought their A game, and it was all very exciting. So yeah, it was great. Really lovely games, and really just got to say thanks to you all for coming and being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun. Now, one thing I do want to mention before we leave off here is, so by the way, if you do want to support what Legion is doing, of course, it helps us do all of these tournaments. It puts together prize pools and all those kinds of things. It also keeps us motivated. So if you're interested, we do have some really sweet merch. Let me see if I can show it to you here. Yeah, you can see the logo there. And actually, these are really nice shirts. They're quite good quality. They're soft and they're they fit well. I liked wearing these shirts. So because normally you sell merch and it's kind of like, well, it's nice to get the logo, but what about the rest of the package? And these are actually pretty good. So and they're not too badly priced either. So go check that out if you're interested in supporting us that way. There is another way you can support us too. You can also buy us a copy, and I'll just put the link here in chat. So if you want to send a couple of bucks our way to the team, that's another way that you can do that. But of course, as always, just having you here is always the best part of it. So thank you everybody for being here. And one thing I'll just quickly go over before we finish off here, just a big thank you to the Legion team. They're all, even though not everybody is here, still, it's the entire team that makes this all possible. So thank you all very much, and thank you to the Legion team, thank you to Pontiki, and thank you, Entsorger, for coming and being a part of this. You really made this a heck of a lot better on me, so I sincerely appreciate you reaching out and coming to do this with me. It was very, very much appreciated. So, well, the tournament's over now. Surface coming in first place, Victor second. We've got Popes in third and Guderian in fourth place. Those are your winners for today. And Entsorger, did you have anything you wanted to say before we closed off?
No, I'm just thanks for keeping Rivals alive. Thanks for participating. Because without players, we have nothing to host or cast. Thanks for watching, and this community is so great, probably the best gaming community I've ever been a part of. People make memes about being at a dead game, but it's only a dead game if we let it be a dead game, and
exactly.
We're doing a great job of keeping it alive, so thanks everyone for hanging out and supporting us.
Well, thanks for those kind, eloquent words, Entsorger. Well, all right, that was it, folks. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna find somebody to raid. So let's see if there's any rival streamers online. Maybe we can send you over to somebody else. And we'll do that. Let me just see. Or if somebody has a suggestion, let me know. And yes, we will post the VOD, just like Kenny is saying, to YouTube. So it will be available after the fact to watch. So if there was something you missed or some part of the tournament you want to rewatch, you'll be able to do that. But let's see. Who can we... Oh, did Victor start a stream? Oh, heck yeah. All right. Yes. Okay, we got to raid him. Absolutely. Okay, I don't think...
Let's go.
What is his actual username? Hold on, I got to find it.
Same as in-game.
Is it the same as in-game?
Together. Yep.
Let's try it. Should work, right? Hey, yes! All right! I was just saying during the tournament, I hope Victor streams again. And look at that. Ah, you love to see that stuff. Oh, that's great. Well, let's go over and show Victor some love. Of course, you got to see him play here in the tournament today. Very good player, so you're going to enjoy his gameplay for sure. Yeah, no, thanks, guys, for coming out, and thanks for coming. All the follows, I really appreciate that. There were some bits that were shared as well. I think Sin1 sent 100 bits earlier, so thank you very much for that. And also, thank you very much for all the donations and support that you all gave today. I understand there were quite a few coffees bought, and I'm sure there were some other donations. So I apologize, I don't have the information in front of me, but we'll be definitely thanking you, and I sincerely appreciate it because it helps us keep doing what we're doing. So with that out of the way, without further ado, let's move on over to Victor's stream, and let's go show him the love.
All right. See you later, dudes.
Oh, hold on. It's I just realized it does it automatically. Okay, we're gonna go over there in a few seconds. Okay, hold on. Okay, now we're going over. All right, see you over there.
Give him the credits.